Hold on.
You want to see
Oh my God.
He goes,
Okay.
he wants to do it.
At 6 o'clock, I want to call the meeting to order. First on our agenda is the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
Thank you. And moved, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's agenda. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? I think this one we should Diane.
Aye.
Matt, maybe?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Derek?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Arnie?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Consent agenda's been approved. Okay, we have an out-of-state travel request from Mr. Crook.
All right, so we are requesting for national, or for Skills USA Nationals to go to Atlanta, Georgia this year for, I believe it's April, or I think early June, I think June 1 through 5. So Skills USA is a STSO, so it's a career and technical student organization. This is at the national scale. We had 7 people qualify for nationals this year, which would include Donald Bryce and Ben Barker for additive manufacturing, Pi Mahaffey for baking and pastries, Cecilia Boland for CNC 2-axis programming, Elijah Goodson for CNC 3-axis programming, Mason Hogan for CNC 5-axis, and then I qualified for sheet metal. And then we had many state-only winners involving, I won safe participation, Sierra Sowers won welding and epoxy acetylene, and I won TIG welding, and we had many first through 6th places as well. And so for nationals, it involves, I would say, we went there previous years, and I would say there's probably over 100 different industry partners that all are like, it's very interesting. Like, for example, a good example of this is like they have robotic welders, which are really interesting. And last year, we also had a student that placed top 5 in the nation. He got 5th for CNC 5-axis for the entire nation, which was a really cool experience. So I'd like to request permission.
And this is for 6 kids, you said?
7.
7?
And where'd you say you were going?
Atlanta, Georgia.
How fun. In June, that'll be nice and warm.
Yeah.
I was not expecting you. I don't know why, I was expecting your father. So your name's Glenn as well?
Yeah.
Glenn Junior? No, this is the second? Okay.
He's a student, he's doing quite well.
Glenn, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Your mom, who's very proud of you, by the way, mentioned TIG welding today. Can you
Yeah.
tell me is that an acronym, or is that, can you do a brief
TIG,
synopsis?
TIG or GTAW welding, or
Okay.
GTAW. So TIG is tungsten or gas welding.
Okay,
And then the GTAW would be gas tungsten arc welding. It's basically, you have a torch that has a ceramic cup, and then there's a gas, so it shoots gas through your torch, and then it has a piece of tungsten in there that is either sharp or ball, depending on which material welding. And then, so it'll shoot gas through, and it'll shoot amperage, and once you get to your circuit, you'll use the ground clamp to shoot electricity through your tungsten itself, and that'll create a concentrated beam on your plate. And then you basically use some sort of filler metal and use that to combine two pieces. It's a really interesting and fun process.
That's great. Thank
I
you.
have no idea what you just said.
It's-
Sounds
interesting.
Sounds very interesting.
It makes really hot flames.
Yes, that's what I gathered.
Tell me more about the robotic welding. Have you ever, did you get to see it or you actually got to
So-
test it out?
I was only able to see it, but it's definitely there's definitely a very cool future for that.
Is it, when they say robotic welding, is it something that you program the machine to do? Or is it something that, for example, in surgery, the robot doesn't actually do anything itself? It actually, you control it, it just takes the human tremor out of it?
So a robotic welder, basically, it's have you ever seen like a car manufacturing?
Yeah.
So it's basically like this, it's its own little arm, and it has a wire feed gun attached to it, and that'll basically move on its own and weld the joints at the exact speeds it needs to and exact heat. And there's some really cool industry stuff for example, for our CNC competitors. There is a organization called Haas.
Mhm.
So they're very generous when it comes to school. So for example, for competitors last year, when they went up there, they got a $1,000 Visa gift card just for being there. Just very and there's probably there's a lot of competitors there, and to give them all $1,000 just like that is pretty crazy.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the request, Mr. Glenn Crook, but not that Glenn Crook,
Oh yeah.
to request for out-of-state travel to Atlanta, Georgia competition.
For 7 competitors.
Yep, for 7 competitors.
Do I have a second?
Yep.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I will just say, I have a nephew who has been an exceptional welder for a long time. He doesn't get to stay home a lot, but he goes all over the country because he does pipelines and he does nuclear plants and if you get the right kind of welding degrees, you're kind of hired for life, and they pay really well, and he gets to travel, and it's a pretty amazing life, so good luck with all that.
Thank you.
Yes,
Wait,
We haven't approved it yet. We're close. We're getting
Oh
there.
shoot. My bad.
The other thing is, welders on Ellen DeGeneres had a furniture design competition a few years ago. And the second year she did it, it was a welder that won.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none. Diane?
Yes.
Maybe?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Arden? And chair votes yes.
Alrighty.
Congratulations and good luck.
And then
He has
He's
one
gonna
more.
ask
I gotta ask one more.
Okay.
So I also have there's another competition. This one would just be me. This would just be me and Mr. Crook over there. And so this one it's called Project MFG. It's supported by the U.S. military, and it's a national level welding competition. So it involves 2 rounds. So I was able to make it through the first round, and then we actually shipped our part all the way over to, I think this year at San Diego, and so I was actually able to be, and this is a college and high school competition, and there's over 400 people all involved in this, and it's the best from all over the nation, from all schools. And I was able to place in the top 24.
Nice.
And so I would like to ask permission to go to San Diego in early May for Project MFG.
MFG, is that the material?
So it'd be like project manufacturing, basically.
Okay.
So there's an additive competition. Oh, I forgot to mention the prize for winning it would be a $10,000 check. And then I think it's 10,000, 5,000, 2,500.
Any more questions?
Do we need a motion?
Yes, we do.
We
I
have a
will move.
motion and a second. Yep.
No,
Okay, no, we have it.
we don't have it.
We don't have
Oh,
it
we
yet.
don't have it. I
This
thought-
is
I would
separate
move that
ones.
we support this project.
I have a motion. It's been seconded. Been moved and seconded.
Who's second?
Diane,
Okay, thank you.
that we approve the out-of-state travel request from Glenn Crook Jr. To go to San Diego. in May. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Have
Good
fun.
luck.
Have fun, good luck. Come back with that $10,000 check.
Yeah, please tell us how it goes.
Yes.
Okay. Doing quite well on our agenda today. Warren, you are up.
Okay, I got way more information than I bargained for this time. So first, for the regional competition for OBOB, our high school won second place, with North Bend taking first. Our junior OBOB got second as well, and towards the end of this season, there will be a party for OBOB. For events, on May 2nd, there's the prom. For SNHS, we have a committee meeting this Wednesday. ASB is electing on the 15th. Poetry Slam will take place on the 30th at around 5:30 p.m. A lot of sports stuff. I don't know how to read sports. What I know is in common is tomorrow at 4:30, there's softball at Sweet Home and baseball at Sweet Home as well.
When did you say the poetry slam was?
The 30th,
What time?
5:30. Do you guys want me to go into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Where is the poetry slam again? Is it
It's gonna be at
auditorium?
high school, yeah,
Auditorium?
I think so, yeah. Here is the part that went over my head. So it started with me trying to get a tally because it was about one person moving to Milcoma, and then I couldn't get a lot of people on the tally, and it took all day, and so my information was statistically unreliable. What I do have is some ideas. Apparently there's some budgeting issues going on right now. I'm not sure what the situation is, but I asked around on like ideas for fundraising, money, so on. And a couple teachers reported that they had excess supplies. So at the beginning of the year for investments, I don't know how that works. Apparently there's a fee that goes into buying extra supplies for classes. And well, not all classes said it, a couple of the classes have had a lot of extra supplies that no one ever uses. Other ideas that have been listed are the school shop. We currently have a school shop, but not many people go right now because it doesn't have a lot of media attention. As well as fundraising opportunities and self-help classes. These are like choir and speech and debate, which usually fund their own ventures so that we don't have to go into the budget. That's all I could come up with without getting into political stuff. Thank you. Any questions?
Are there any questions?
I just think you're amazing.
Thank you.
You are gonna be, I mean, you are, but you're gonna even continue to be more of a brilliant mind as you grow older, and man, you're an amazing young person, a big person, but.
I almost stepped into some crazy stuff today. I didn't know what I was doing.
Doing a great job.
You are doing a good
Yeah.
job.
Relatable.
Very good, thank
Yeah.
you very much for the information.
We appreciate it.
Okay, I don't believe Faith was able to join us this evening from Destinations, so we're on to public input. Did we have anyone sign up? Did anyone here sign up for public comment?
Hey, David, Michelle's not muted. Not sure if you can either, but,
Oh, your boy.
No public
Nope.
input.
Okay. Then we'll move on, and Glenn will finish up with you.
All right. For the record, so I'm technically Glenn Jr.
So he's the third.
Yeah, basically.
Oh,
We kind of changed his middle name, so it's a little bit weird. So,
okay. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Let me get this full screen real quick. And moving on to the first slide.
all right. Sweet. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do some staff spotlights for some more staff. All right, so first up is Mr. Cruz. So he is our band director. He's been at the high school for 16 years. And this is still the same thing where this is what the students are saying about this staff member. And so says Mr. Cruz is a dedicated, kind, and supportive MHS band director who students love. He's hardworking and reliable, often filling in, rarely using substitutes, goes the extra mile repairing equipment, answering questions, and giving advice, and actively secures music, donations, schedules, events, and trips. He's an effective, encouraging teacher who helps students improve, many reaching the state level, and creates a positive high school experience and treats students like family. What he loves about working at Marshfield High School, he says, I have always had good support in everything I have done as an employee. That is Mr. Cruz. And I believe the band's actually they're currently fundraising to go to Hawaii next year, which should be a lot of
I
fun.
think they have a band days coming up, at the auditorium coming up.
Yeah, I think it's next week. I think.
And his family's one of the oldest families in Coos Bay.
Really?
Okay, yep.
I did not know that.
Well, of course Army does.
I know, of course. Thank you for that.
There was a shipyarder named Cruz Banks.
Ooh.
Nice. And then we have Mr. King. So he teaches social studies. He's been at Marshfield for 9 years. And what the students say about him, it says, Mr. King is an engaging, passionate teacher who makes social studies interesting and inspires genuine learning rather than just grades. Students praise his clear, supportive teaching, availability before and after class, and willingness to help students catch up. He balances firm expectations with humor and care, creates a welcoming classroom environment, goes above and beyond, extra time and inspiring talks, and has this positive, motivating presence. What he loves about working at Marshfield High School is each day is a new opportunity to improve and better our community through learning. We got some great staff. Any questions?
Thank you, I really love these.
And he
staff
just got married.
spotlights. Oh, did he?
That I
You
didn't
just
know.
got
Oh, he's
married.
getting married.
Oh.
Friday, he's on vacation.
Where do you get all your information? He doesn't know anything about everything.
Artie knows everything. I'm telling you.
Addie gave it to me.
He just got married. Oh, my goodness. Where's he going on his honeymoon?
It's going on an Alaskan cruise.
All right, well, I guess I will step down. Right.
Thank you,
Thank
Junior.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. No, it's still your turn.
Okay, and now we get to hear from Bree.
Bree, I love your hair. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm trying to work and multitask. I need to get to the right screen. I'm not wearing my glasses, so I can't read that.
There's some in there. I don't know whose they are, but maybe they'll
Just
Oh,
work.
try it, it might work.
Oh, mine are at home in the container, which I knew would end up happening after lunch. So first, I will talk about our staff spotlight. And so this spotlight is nominated by other classified staff in our district. But I do just want to take a moment that I have to, because of my job position, when we're talking about the oldest families in our area, I would also like to recognize that we have people that are here much longer and are Indigenous people.
I agree.
Yes.
Thank you.
So when we're talking about like the oldest families in our area, that would be our Indigenous students and their families. Just have to throw that out there for you guys, because you know it wouldn't be me if I didn't do that. And so for our staff spotlight is Anna Henning. She's over at Sunset School, and the staff that nominated her said she is truly a light in the EGC room, Emotional Growth Center, at Sunset School. She brings positivity, dedication, and care into everything she does. She has built strong, meaningful connections with students, making each one feel seen, supported, and valued. Anna consistently goes above and beyond her role always willing to step in wherever she is needed. Her compassion, work ethic, and commitment to students and staff make her an invaluable part of our school community. She is simply amazing to work with. And so she was nominated by one of her fellow coworkers at Sunset School. And then for updates, our union's been working closely with the district during the budget cuts, and we were pretty, during budget cuts, we always know unpleasant things are going to happen, and so we did have some RIF at FTE. It's just under 8 FTE. I can't remember the exact number without looking at my cheat sheet, but it was appreciated from the union when we were looking at FTE to see that that was split up pretty equally through the district. I want to say 48 or 42%. 48. I was like, I know it was, again, long day. About 48% came from classified FTE. And usually when we're looking at budget cuts and RIFs and FTE and stuff, it's a lot higher for classified staff. And so, just recognizing that it is a little bit more spread out is appreciated, even though it's never fun to talk about reductions in force. A lot of it will be through retirements and moves, and while it might not be the same position somebody's in, there are positions open for them to move into, which is really best case scenario. So do you guys have any questions, comments, other concerns for me?
I just appreciate that you are always willing to say one of the hard things sometimes and just, tell us like it is. So, thank you.
Sometimes.
No, you do it all the time. I like that. And I just love that both unions are doing the stuff spotlight, because it's good to see the faces and then recognize when we go into the community or we go into the schools.
Yeah, because
I saw your picture.
it's nicer to see the face, right? It's the same thing with our
Absolutely.
students about how we should know our students by name and interest and stuff. The same thing goes for our staff, and I'm guilty of it too. You get so caught up or you are in a certain schedule that you don't really get to know faces. And so sometimes you find yourself in public and you start talking to somebody about what you do for work, and turns out you both work for Goose Bay Schools or something. And so it's nice to kind of get some of those faces that you don't see typically in the public out there. So
Yeah, especially even the behind the scenes folks, seeing those, we might be in classrooms or, at admin offices, but sometimes you don't get to
Yeah.
see everyone, especially these classified folks who are cleaning the buildings at night.
yeah, and I would invite you guys, when you guys do come into our schools, because I know, I can't remember what the title is, but I know everybody's assigned to a school as a chair,
Basic learner schools, yeah.
Yeah.
Representative.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm I know that you guys use a word, but I couldn't think of what it was right now. I invite you to come in, and when you guys do come in, go past the offices and go into some of those spaces. Great times to see classified staff workers, in action is recesses and lunches and those kind of things. You will be able to get to say hello without interrupting education in that time. Plus the kids would love to hear, what does a school board do? And so that would be my recommendation if you guys are going into a school and looking when you can kind of connect with staff that you may not normally see. Utilize those recesses and lunches and that kind of thing too. So
I felt like I connected with the janitor at Madison, but she was working, so I
Yeah.
don't know. I was trying to talk to her. I don't know if she was like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
everybody's usually busy, but a 1 minute or 2 minute
Oh, yeah.
connection can go so
We
far
connected
for
with the
people.
Sunset cafeteria as well. We were there with facilities, great group of workers.
Yes.
I mean, there's just, everybody's just pulling their all, doing it.
I know everybody feels strongly either way about cafeterias, but I think it's one of the funner places to go because
Oh, the
the
kids.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be loud, but
Oh, great.
loud and chaotic is
There's
kind of.
always smiles on kids in the cafeteria.
Yeah. Well, thanks you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Bree.
Thank you, Bree. Get some rest.
Okay, we're on to Marina and business office updates.
Hi, I was able to get everything ahead of the board meeting, so I hope you all had a chance to look. I have pointed out a couple of checks that were out of our standard operating, so I just wanted to call them to your attention. We do have one check on March 18th for Instant Woods Communication for almost $24,000 of other significant expense. We had a lightning strike on the radio tower about 2 years ago. We filed an insurance claim, we got it up to speed, and then within the last couple of months, that tower has gone down again. And Tom Woods at Woods Communication believes it's all tied to the lightning strike. So this is for the repair to get the AM and FM back on the radio. And we are currently working on an insurance claim, reopening the prior one for the lightning strike. It is slightly challenging to prove that damage a year and a half later is still related to a lightning strike, but Tom Woods at Woods Communication does believe we'll be able to file an insurance claim for that. And then right below it, top service body shop for almost $5,000. Again, outside of our norm, one of our district vehicles got hit in the Marshfield parking lot, and so this is the repair. It was all covered by our insurance. But I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, $5,000 is pretty outside of our normals. Other than that, we had some scholarship expenses throughout the month, probably for second or winter term. And on the second page, another oddity is $16,000 to Patriot Companies, which is kind of a company we don't hear from often. So we currently in food service have what's called an excess operating balance. You're required to continue to run a nonprofit. You only have 3 months worth of operating expenditures in your account fund at all times. So we had an excess of that, and we were working with ODE on how we could best spend that down. For us, it's bigger expenses because we had quite a bit to spend down. And so we have purchased this week, last week I signed for it, a new hot cold mobile van from Kendall up in Eugene. And the Patriot Company is the down payment to get that retrofitted for hot cold lunch service. And so we will actually be opening an additional route for summer lunches, the free lunch program. So Sodexo is currently working on adding some new stops. We're looking to do a route over East Side through Sumner, Green Acres, so that we're hitting both ends of town for the free lunch service for people who may not be able to make it all the way over to East Side or one of our other set routes. Other than that, we had pretty standard operating for March. It was pretty quiet, I think probably because of spring break. Did you guys have any questions on any of the checks listed?
What about the Sodexo check, which is like $151,000? How frequently do we pay Sodexo?
We pay them monthly.
Monthly.
Yep. So they're in our contract, it's a fixed cost of $4.25 a meal, and then we're able to claim federal and grant funding for that, and so it usually covers all, if not all, of that Sodexo cost.
And then I saw that there was Bandon Dunes Golf Resort for $1,100.
It was golf tournament fees.
And we charge the schools that come to play
Mhm.
A participation fee as well. So but we have to pay for the course usage for that rental.
And it's golf season.
Yeah.
So when we charge them, does that money go back into the same account that you just paid?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I was curious, and do you know, is the district and its buildings subject to the net metering or power? I noticed was had $67,000 in electricity costs in a single month. Well, there were 2 checks. I don't know. There's probably different months, but it came in the same.
Yeah, depending on when they fall is kind of the next check run. Yes, we are. So we pay them that year.
So the more solar panels we put on our buildings, the less we'll pay in electricity.
Theoretically. Mhm. I don't know that we have any solar panels on our buildings at this time. Definitely something. Where?
Millicoma.
Oh, with the new ones.
East Side, yeah.
And the new ones. I'm not up there very often.
Millicoma, East Side, Madison. Does Madison have them?
Probably all 3 that got touched in the renovations.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then are we getting some on Sunset Roof when we get that fixed?
That's the hope.
That's fine. Yeah,
I dreamed it out loud when I was on
I was in that facilities committee. That might have been hope to dream. Does anyone have any other questions on the check fund? All right, we'll move on to the special revenue. Sorry, they're all in the stack in my desk. Let's see what's next. The March financials. We're looking actually pretty good. We knew that our budget numbers in the general fund would potentially be pretty off this year because of our transition from the ESD running life skills to now we operate our own independent skill center. And so the staffing costs and operating costs of that was pretty variable. We're currently at about 70% of our expenditures for the year against the budget. That's pretty typical because this goes through the third quarter of our fiscal year. I'm continuing to monitor that support service function, which if all projections look right, is expected to be over the allocation by $500,000. I'll continue to monitor it. My calculations have us not going over because they have their own historical data to build this. I'm going to keep monitoring it. My hope is that I'll have a good idea by the May board meeting if we need to do that and then present it at the June board meeting. But we have currently not gone over and we are all within our allocations. We are intending to do all of our transfers, which is listed as other uses for $180,000. That is $100,000 of a transfer going to the athletic reserve fund for potentially resurfacing the track that needs to be done in the next few years. And then we have the annual transfer of $80,000, which is the field turf reserve. So that every 10, 15 years when we need to replace the football field, we have the funds set aside in the account.
Are those, how much control do we have over those funds? So for example, I agree that saving for those types of things is a good idea, but if Sunset needs a new roof, we just talked about over $200,000 that we're transferring to savings. Is that money that we could use to?
Yes, per local budget law, you guys have the ability to fully budget at the major fund, the major allocation. So you do have the ability to use that in whatever capacity you need to in capital projects. Yes. The answer to that is yes. However, Sunset roof and the other roofs that need to be replaced are looking like we may need to go out for short-term debt.
Why would we go out for short-term debt when we're saving money?
Well, we're looking at probably closer to $4 to $5 million to redo Sunset, the Bunker Hill roof, which needs to be redone, potentially part of Pirate Hall, which needs to be redone, and the Marshfield Library, which is looking to be redone and came in about $260,000, almost $100,000 more than we had anticipated in the budget, as well as the startup costs to do all of the different projects on each campus would have to be replicated each time. And so that's a conversation that our facility supervisor is looking at bringing to the facilities committee so that we could do theoretically all of those projects at once. Since some of our short-term debt is expiring in June, we'll have that. So that it can all get done and not pay all the initial costs, the bidding, the setup, the equipment fees, all separate times. That he almost recommended we do it in one big group project, but that's something the facilities committee is more than prepared to look at. But in the meantime, we could transfer all of that money, and then that's truly up to the board and the budget committee.
And
what they want to do.
Historically, districts that have artificial turf surfaces, both for football, soccer, the multi-purpose fields, and their tracks, they historically put small pockets of money aside every year when the turf. I believe this happened to hard turf in Coos Bay where it didn't pass the test, the bounce test,
Yeah.
and then you're on the hook to replace it right away. And so at about $700,000 to $1 million, depending on what you do with that. I know that the resurfacing the track and talking to Wilma would be a $500,000-ish, because at this point, our track would need to be pulled up and resurfaced, pulled all the way up and resurfaced, not just a patch repair. There's some spots in it as well right now from being at the track meet on Saturday and it was pouring rain. You can see the rain seeping in under the track surface itself. So it's always something historically districts put pockets of money away every year.
Yeah, and I understand that. I guess my my question is, I'm just trying to raise a difficult budget question, which is, we're saving money for one thing when we have an immediate need for something else, right? And, you know, a roof for one of our buildings, if it were to fail, is a much bigger deal than if our track is not usable and we have to replace, like, I'm just trying to think about where the best place to take out short-term debt or risk is.
I think the track and the field are things that are done every 10 years, where the roofs are things that are done every 25. I mean, the Fire Hall roof's 25 years old, going on 26. The Sunset roof, I'm assuming, is the original Sunset roof from when it was built.
It is, it's got some
Yeah,
slabs.
in
Imagine trying to.
90 or mid-90s, 95, 96, right in that window of opening. So that's another reason why, you know, historically, these money are put away for these projects, is their 8 to 10 year needs versus a 25-year need. It just happened that at this point right now, we're facing some structural needs with some of our building work.
So putting that money away, sorry, that would give us, so if we were to take out a short-term loan debt for, say, we think this is around 5 million to do all that we need to do with the roofs that are at critical mass right now.
Well, we've been given probably about a 5-year lifespan that we could patch through, between 2 to 5 years on the
Sunset?
different roofs.
I almost fell through. I was
Per,
right there.
per HGE and Loma, they believe we can make do until we can solidify some grant funding. So that's part of it. So we're working on getting some grant funding for the seismic upgrade grant, some things that we could match our funds. Whereas these, so the reason it's in this budget, there honestly, is because it was board mandated 2 times ago when we had to replace the turf and we didn't have the funds set aside. The board communicated to the finance director at that time, you need to set aside turf reserve in order to replace that, so you don't have to go out for short-term debt. So I think since I've been here, since 2023, we did pay off that loan, and we were still paying on it after we replaced it the most recent time. And so that was a board dictated process.
And that's a good idea. I guess my bigger question is if we save a little bit more money and have a bigger down payment for this $5 million loan we need, are we in a better position? Because if we can use $200,000 to be in a better position and have a lower interest rate on this $5 million, then we should consider bumping back the turf and other fields a year or two. If it's really not going to make a difference one way or another, then we should continue to save for things and be responsible. But I don't know, just throwing out a potential different way of doing that, since we're setting aside money at a time when we also have serious needs.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And we do have, you'll see later in the capital projects, we do have some money sitting in that account, potentially to offset some of that cost. My hope is to get in contact with Carol Samuels at a firm who can essentially walk me through what possible interest rates may look like, so that when I come to the budget committee in the middle of May, I have some numbers. Do we enter it into the budget for next year? Do we look at not doing that and stop doing these transfers so that we can set it aside to a roof reserve fund? I'm trying to get some information because I agree. It's hard for me to say we're budgeting for athletics when roofs in educational buildings are.
Well, and one of my big concerns about the roof is that we have things under that roof that we've paid for that are important, that are valuable, right? So it's not just the roof, it's that when the water leaks through and damages a major system, an HVAC system, or so damages something else that needs to be replaced, then you're in real trouble.
For the safety of the children.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not talking about roof collapse, right? We're talking about a leaking roof. Those are two different things.
Yeah. I think those are.
And Loma's checked, and all those mold tests and stuff have passed. We're not in that situation yet. Having water in the building is a risk of that, but we're not in that situation yet. And I think Loma's done a really good job of checking those things. But I just wanted to raise that.
Yeah, that helps us as we're building that proposed budget of what options we can bring to you guys. Absolutely. I think you guys in the budget committee can make some really good determinations on how you'd like us to proceed, based on information from Loma and potential loans and things like that. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions on the general fund? Okay. Special revenue, we're on par to send down all of our grant funds. This is the year that now we have to send everything down by June when we used to have through September. So allocating has been a challenge based on the way our staffing goes, because a lot of now grants are gonna not be really processed until September or October, and we start paying staff in August. So we're trying to figure out how that's going to work now with ODE's new implementation. But in terms of grants, it looks great. We just got another new one and we're working on sending that down. We are still waiting on the result of the summer school application. We have not received word on if we've received the commission or not. But as soon as I know, I will communicate that to you guys. It's hard to plan summer school that fast, but hopefully if we get it this year, we will know for the next 3 years. It's a 3-year cycle.
And was the summer school all in school? Was it all in person?
Yes. Yes. It can be done differently, but that's how we've implemented it.
Yeah.
And each
Yes,
school.
We found the success rate, especially for high school, for credit recovery in person,
It's high.
pretty high. Dr. Crook with the students that are taking classes online, and destination students that are taking some the Edgenuity classes, they'll extend those classes into the summer as needed. But overall, in person, we had the discussion today though, because we have the summer school grant application sitting out there, we're waiting to hear back on it. We were kind of talking today about worst case scenarios if we don't get the grant, what we can do to offer some summer school, especially for the high school students with credit recovery, both at Marshall and destinations.
And is summer school primarily credit recovery or are there other
For
options?
the high school, it's been credit recovery, and as the state's kind of trimmed down the funding, they've taken out some of the enrichment, because it used to be credit recovery and enrichment activities, and they've kind of taken the enrichment piece out and said, we really want you to focus on early literacy, math, credit recovery. So early literacy, obviously, and math at the K-8, and then credit recovery at the high school. So we're just waiting to hear back on that grant application. We kind of feel like we're 50-50. We've made improvements on our scores, and it's kind of taken us out of that tier 1 category and put us into tier 2. So we're very hopeful, but we're kind of flipping the coin right now whether we get funding or not.
Right, I had a question. Just looking at the general budget, when we look at our local sources versus state funding, and state funding is the vast majority, is that typical across all districts?
Yes. The percentage of variance, it may change, but 90% of general fund dollars will be state school. Just because property taxes are so capped, everyone's pretty much levying their permanent rate, and assessed values aren't skyrocketing like they maybe have once. So that number's pretty solidified, but for a majority of districts, we saw a significant increase in state school funding, 11.36 billion.
Back in the 90s, when we had Bell Measure 5 and 50 happen, we switched from 60% coming from local funds, property tax, and 30% from the federal state. It completely turned on its head because of those limiting things on the property tax. So, and it's gotten worse, actually. It's getting more and more state and less. There's always a conversation at the state as to why don't we just have one state school board? Because we're paying for it all. Why should we let all these other people decide how to spend it? So it's a constant conversation that's happening. And there is one state, Hawaii, which has a state school. That's all. Pardon?
You have a wealth of knowledge.
I have been around for a while.
I didn't say that. The debt service fund, there's no activity in here other than receiving local revenue, property taxes that we levy against our debt. We do have our final PERS UAL bond payment in June. Great news. That's been since 2007 that we've been paying that off. And then we just have our GO obligation fund that we have significant length of time left to pay, but that is paid for by levying taxes to cover all of that. So we don't have any general fund expenditures towards debt moving. And then capital projects. There's projected to be about $2 million in this fund when the year is completed and MoMA has completed the current ongoing projects, the new painting at Sunset, the locker removal, the last few touches at Milner. I don't know what those are, but that's what I was told. Last few touches at Milner will be done by June 30th, and we should have about $2 million in that fund for the budget committee to determine priorities for. Potentially or a portion of the roof. But we don't have any current large projects on this. We're trying to get some small things done. We've been in a cycle of really, really big projects, and a lot of our smaller day-to-day things have not been focused. And so that's been MoMA's priority this year. It's getting some day-to-day.
You mentioned spend down. Do you have some grants that are ending soon that you're working on spending down? And are you looking across to the end of the biennium and where you're going to have spend down?
Yes, so both. We budget for the state grants by the whole biennium.
Right.
So we're working on spending down specifically federal dollars that we weren't sure if we were going to have.
Mm-hmm.
And now we kind of held off on spending that until this spring. And so we're working on spending some of those down. Also just the way they're implemented, you don't get them until like
Right. And I was just wondering how much in spend down?
less than 100,000 that's not already allocated or already converted to spending.
Okay, and so I just was wondering what you're spending down on, and if you're taking suggestions or no.
Always taking suggestions as long as they meet the grant requirements. The newest one.
Which grants are you?
Well, we just got approval for Title 4A. That just got approved because we got some additional funding from the last month, and that just got approved. The band equipment at 712, grade 712. I have a lot of grants on brain
Okay.
And then we just got high dosage tutoring, which is a offshoot of early literacy grant, and really working on how we can send that down by June in next month. And so it sounds like we're going to be using it for additional stuff. Not all.
What about instruments for the 3-6?
That was on the Title 4A. Mm-hmm. Kayla got some band equipment. You got band equipment for 3-6.
A small amount, yeah. For 3-6 schools. But that's much broader. I don't know if you want.
Maybe it sounded like you had some ideas.
Yeah.
Well, I've been talking with Dr. Crook and Carly, and we were just talking about playground stuff and equipment for Little Pirates, but I don't know the Title 4A grant requirement, you know.
Yeah, it has pretty strict percentage requirements for different categories of some expenses. But good to know. I'll see what I can do in the budget, proposed budget, so I'm bringing to you guys.
Well, and I know we're starting to look at the whole biennium for other grants as well.
Yeah, and that's a little questionable at this point. We hesitant to roll anything up. Okay, perfect. Does anyone have any questions on the special revenue funds that I provided you? I won't go into all of these. These are just special revenues broken down. No? No questions? Okay. Lastly, enrollment for April. Yeah, there's no way I can read that, David. I'm sorry.
No, you're all right.
Our enrollment actually stayed pretty consistent in April. That's the news flash. Is the number of schools really significantly declined. Actually, Madison went up 8. Go Madison. Were they all kindergartners?
No,
Could you imagine?
but our kindergarten classes are full.
Yeah. And online increased another 15. So Dr. Crook has really been putting in some work on that online program. I got the numbers from Brenda Gesberg today. She works the online program. I wanted the most up-to-date numbers for you guys. And as of today, there's 257 students online. So 75 hybrid, 105 are full-time online, which is huge. 10 6th through 8th grade hybrid students, 34 6th through 8th grade full-time. And then we have 10 K through 5 hybrids and 24 K through 5 full-time. So those caseloads are huge. But she's really, really expanded our program this year, and I think it's been really beneficial in terms of the alt ed expansion that you guys dictated. And the board goals. Does anyone have any questions on enrollment?
So if we take this forward 5 or 10 years from now, our high school is going to have somewhere between 100 and 200 fewer students.
That we're really working on, and you'll see this in the budget committee. Everything for the next few months will surround the budget committee. We worked with quite a few districts on their staffing allocation, and a lot of the bigger districts had a real methodology and like student to teacher ratios that they were able to implement and then say, here's your staffing, you do what you need to do with it. And so when Superintendent Roberts and I really started the budget conversation, we looked at that. And so we're going to continue every year. Okay, here's what you're projecting for students. Here's what your FTE is. You make your master schedule work. And we can reduce as needed based on that. And so we did that allocation for the high school. We got it down to a number and then said, okay, we won't go that extreme because they had like a number of extra staff. I mean, it's great they had really low class numbers, but it's not sustainable. And so we're going to continue every year to look at that number and what FTE dictates and work it down as comfortably as possible.
Not necessarily a thing for this group, but in playing it out 5 or 10 years, we should be thinking about you're only going to be able, if a teacher's career is 20 or 30 years, and we're talking about 5 or 10 years, these kinds of reductions, we need to be thoughtful about our hiring and our hiring practices and stuff, because that's a significant reduction in the number of FTE that we need based on the number of students declining in the district.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we did when we looked at our K-6 buildings here in the budget reductions that you're going to see here shortly, many of those factors are looking at the birth rates and the fact that we continue to be right around 160 to 180 in terms of students entering kinder, and then looking at the birth rate, that's held fairly steady. So we're kind of projecting out of like one of the decisions we made this year in terms of millicomers you're going to hear in a while is looking at those numbers and saying we have the opportunity right now with retirees to correct the staffing number looking projected into the future, and then offer supports in the meantime for some of the bigger class sizes. But it's kind of what you're talking about. We were looking out 5 years and saying to hire and replace now would create some, in fact, musical teachers of moving people around every year to support 1 or 2 bigger classes with smaller classes coming, and would create a lot of instability among staffing. We chose to use this time to make the corrections now, in a sense, weather the storm for a couple of years with the supports from those teachers because of the class sizes. So we see those things coming in. Hopefully we'll get an influx of students. We are getting more and more families calling about Coos Bay schools, Coos Bay opportunities, especially at Marshfield High School right now, and destinations with the online program at Milner Crest, and with some of our dual credit options and AP options at Marshfield. We're getting a lot of families calling from the area about how do they bring their kids to Coos Bay, which is great. That's what we want. So. And maybe a port project. I don't know. Maybe we'll get that.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And that brings us right up to the superintendent. We're making good time, guys.
Will allow me to slow things down a little
Yeah.
bit with a lot of slides tonight, Kim.
I thought there was
We have some slides with our alternative education presentations tonight. But I do want to start out tonight with a welcome to a couple folks. First of all, one has been working with us for a few months, but we did make a hire at Millicoma for a principal, and so we have Mr. Chris Pendleton, who has been named the principal at Millicoma. We'd like to officially welcome him. Again, he's been there for a few months, so Mr. Pendleton, welcome.
Thank you,
Say a
appreciate
word.
it. I appreciate you guys seen me a few times, but now I'm going to be official, yes, because I was in a temporary mode, but enjoying my time at the Millicoma. I've been 31 years in a high school, now year 1 in an elementary, and loving the challenge and the change, and loving the kids that are there, because again, you always like your high school kids, but these little 3rd and 6th graders, adorable, and every day smiles, and it's an adventure. And so glad to be here and looking forward to the future at Millicoma. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pendleton. And as we went through the process of hiring the principal, when we had the screening committee and then went to the interview committee, and when we were in the interview committee, they asked me to join them and said, we have 2 candidates and we want to find a way to get both of them. And so when we hired Chris on as the principal, we had a conversation with Chris and had kind of a meet and greet, and then went back to the interview committee. And so I'm proud tonight to introduce Ms. Tara Adams as the assistant principal of Millicoma. And we have, Chris has already been at Millicoma, so he already has access to gifts, to welcome gifts, but wanted to give Tara a little welcome gift from Coos Bay Schools. And have Tara just take a minute to introduce herself and a little bit of her background and such.
Hi, I'm Tara Adams, and I've taught early education, preschool and kindergarten and early elementary, and I've taught high school, middle school. And so that Millicoma call to that grades 3 through 6 really called to me and spoke to my heart. So I'm glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Tara. Welcome aboard. And thank you, Chris.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Most recently.
Most recently, yeah.
Was recently the vice principal at Reedsport Middle High School. You guys are middle high school.
Yeah,
Yes,
middle
middle
high
high school. Right. All right. Welcome, both of you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you again.
Yes.
Yes, you will. Thank you.
All right. Now, we're up here. Thanks. Just a reminder of superintendent goals. Tonight, we are going to be focusing on our long-term alternative education plan and priorities. And so I would like to call up Dr. Crook, and David is going to share a presentation. I'm going to come up and join Dr. Crook over here. Yes, I am. And we're going to talk about alternative ed or alternative education programs. You can click through. Okay. Yeah, let me just get it squared away here. Okay. Yep, I got a clicker.
Okay, awesome.
Maybe.
Maybe. Why don't we switch sides?
Okay.
I don't have to like put my arm around
Sure.
you to
Well, that'd be
change
great.
sides. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so, about a year ago now, one of the board goals was presented to us that we needed to develop a long-term plan for the future of alternative education in Coos Bay School District, but part of that was to investigate and establish the need for additional programs. All along, we've been establishing programs. You guys have heard a lot about alternative ed. You've heard a lot about preschool. I feel like I've presented a lot of information, but I wanted to give some data and kind of where we're looking for information about what we need to do moving forward. This is a pretty big goal at the same time that we're doing budget cuts as well. And so we've kept that in mind, and how can we be fiscally responsible at the same time that we're giving our kids what they need and our families what they need. So just a quick overview, the current setup you guys, most of you know all of this, but we have Destinations Academy, which is our high school, and we've really focused in on that graduation focus and our relationship-driven model, a lot on social emotional. We serve both credit deficient and on-track high school students now. It's not just credit deficient. It's really about giving the kids individualized pacing and support and those strong connections between our staff and students. And we're aligning everything to our graduation outcomes. And that's what brought us to this past year of 87.5% graduation rate. And hopefully we're on track for that again. It's that time of year, you guys, with seniors. CBD 9 Online, we're looking at that flexible pathway that families are really wanting. This program spans K-12. We're trying out some new things. We have the Acellus program that we're trying out, K-8. We're still using Edgenuity at the 9-12, and we're still seeing some pretty great gains across the board for our students. Our students in Edgenuity had a 92% completion rate, up from 85% last year. So we're seeing great gains in this. We have full-time and hybrid enrollment options for students. We're seeing a lot of kids at the high school level do hybrid, but we're also seeing that a lot at the K-8 level as well. So being able to have that flexibility for families is really important to us. Online is our largest area of application growth. We'll talk about applications in a little bit, but it's up there. And then all 6 district schools are served by online. And then we're maintaining that alignment with the district graduation expectations as well. So
can I ask a question about,
yes.
So for the students who are CBD 9 Online hybrid, the contract that we have for example, with Acellus or Judy, is it that like in healthcare you buy access to a program for a certain number of students? It's not a per pupil thing. So if you end up, or per patient thing. So if you bought access and you have 50 students, your cost is something. If it's 150 students, it's still the same. Is that, or do you pay per pupil with this type of program? How does it work?
So Edgenuity kind of has 2 different things going on, and I don't know all of the details for that contract. If Chad were here, he could tell you. But we have 2 different sides of it. The instructional services side of it, we pay for 65 full-time seats for the kids to have full access to however many classes they need. And then we pay per class after that. For Acellus, it is per student. Next year, we're going to a monthly because what we found is our kids are pretty fluid. And so if you pay a yearly fee, then it's going to cost us more, right? And so we've changed that model as well.
Because we have some students, they'll start in the classroom, decide they want to come to online, and then they do it for a month or 2, and they decide, you know what, most of the time at the K-6 level, the parent decides, we're going to go back to the classroom. And so this monthly one allows us for that flexibility.
So for a student who is hybrid, so they are attending both our brick and mortar schools and they are attending our online schools, is our cost per pupil higher for that person?
Not when it comes to Acellus. I mean, Acellus is going to be $79 a month per student next year for us. And so that cost, whether they're there full-time or part-time, is still $79 per student. Yeah, students. And then we have, I just want to point out, when it comes to CBD Online, as Kayla said, it's our fastest growing area. And many families have come, and that's where we pulled a lot of families back in, is we've had families that have wanted to go to a Winter program or a different virtual option. And I call every family when they turn in a form to leave the district to ask them why. And we'll talk a little bit about why our students are in CBD Online here and why we have some data. But and then I try to talk to them about our programs, our completion rate, our graduation rate, things of that nature. And right now, the students that we're not able to retain at the high school level, much of it is around a program that we don't offer. So Winter Lakes has flight simulations and cosmetology. Those are two that have come up in the last 2 or 3 weeks that I don't have an argument for that, you know? And then at the K-6 level, where we're losing some families, and this is being talked about at the state level right now, there are some virtual programs that are offering families cash incentives to enroll in their program. I'm not gonna name them, but you enroll this student in their virtual program, and they will send you $2,000 checks to use for enrichment. The state. And so that is being discussed at the state level right now as, is that appropriate use of taxpayer funds? So, but those are the things right now that those are the two areas that I'm having a hard time convincing families to stay with us, is programs that like Winter Lakes offers that they do a great job with. And then these other programs, Winter Lakes is not one of these cash programs, I want to make that clear. But some of these virtual programs around the state that are offering cash incentives for families. We can't compete with that, nor will we, offering families cash to the state of us.
So the brick and mortar for K6, so when they're hybrid and they're going to class, are they showing up at Madison in the kindergarten classroom like 2 days a week and then you're hybrid the rest?
No. We have families that would like to do that kind of flexibility. It doesn't work that way. We believe that students need a set schedule.
Yes.
And so we work really hard on, okay, AM or PM. It's in the application now of whether or not they want an AM hybrid or a PM hybrid. Trying to dissuade families from kind of a pop in and out, because that's a
disruption to the rest of the class.
Well, and it's a disruption to students and their education as well, because they're not sure what's going on when they are doing that. And so we're trying really hard not to have that happen. Do you have any input on the hybrid situation?
Yeah, I mean, we have some students who are coming, like they come in the morning and then they leave like at lunchtime. So they're receiving like literacy instruction in the morning, interventions, and then they're going home in the afternoon and doing their ACELIS work from home. And I think we have a very small number of students that are accessing that option, but it's working for those students and families, and I think getting the best of both worlds.
There's 10 K through 5th grade hybrid students.
In just Madison or
in total?
In the district.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not very much that are choosing that option.
So our next area is ResourceLink. They have had 23 years of working in our district and meeting our families where they're at. They have that customized learning for each student in that teacher-parent-student partnership. They do their weekly check-ins. They have classes that they teach in person as well. Lots of flexibility for their pathways, and it blends at home. A little bit of online, on-campus learning, and other types of curriculum. So we have that ability too. And anything else on ResourceLink? They're doing a great job.
They're doing a great job. We're looking at continuing, as ResourceLink is a program that has COVID came to us, and we started to have virtual instruction, online instruction. That kind of has shifted some of ResourceLink's population, and also kind of led to ResourceLink talking about how they can evolve. And we've had those ongoing conversations, and we continue. They're a valuable part of what we do, and we want to continue that partnership. But we're also looking at, with the expansion of CBD Online, where does their niche fit into what we can offer our families in the district? We're going to continue that conversation. We have, Rachel's wanting to ask, I'm assuming a question, but we don't usually allow questions from the audience during presentations. Is there Rachel, you're more than welcome to email your question or put it in the comments, and the board or myself can address it via email.
Oh, okay.
And then Little Pirates Preschool, they have been part of our alternative program group for, 4 years. now, and they're a huge part of that early intervention. And we really focus in on social emotional learning with our students at Little Pirates. And this year across the district at both Eastside and Madison, we're seeing 0% behavioral referrals for this school year for those kinders from last year. So that's pretty amazing. So we're focusing some on academics, some on social, some on behavioral, getting them kinder ready, but also just really working on their social emotional well-being, those skill building. So it's a pretty amazing program. If you guys have not come to check out our Little Pirates preschool, you need to do that. It's a fun time.
And the 0% behavioral referrals plus the advanced DIBEL scores or the higher DIBEL scores amongst the students that have been at Little Pirates is our #1 piece of evidence to advocate for universal pre-K. We have talked, we had a meeting today, Carly and I, with SOEB about expanding. There's a possibility of some additional Little Pirates slots for next year. But we've also talked about that as the state's going to be coming down and doing a visit at some point, correct, Carly?
They'll be down in October with the early learning hub.
Yeah, to do a
visiting some sites.
Visiting some sites. And this is a thing that we continue to point to as we hear a lot about social emotional behaviors in the classroom, that this is our evidence of universal pre-K will help students be more ready when they come into kindergarten, both academically and socially, and it's going to help us improve our school cultures as a whole.
Okay, so those are the programs currently at Milton Crest Education Center. And so what we really want to look at is what are the evidence pieces that we have. And so we're going to look through 4 years of enrollment data, and Little Pirates is included on all of this. And so, and then we'll have 4 years of staffing ratios, our 2 years of application comparisons, of how many applications from 1 year to the next for our all of our programs, except Little Pirates on that one, and at 3 years of structured thematic analysis from the applications that have come in. We're going to talk about the teen parent program and talk a little bit about child care evaluation and what the cost of that would be, looking at the K-8 feasibility. And then we have a Madison pilot of a alternative classroom at Madison this year. So we'll touch base on all of those. So first off, starting 4 years ago, we had about 282 students. The following year, when we moved to Milner and we were in a smaller space, there was a drop because we had very strict caps for all of our programs. If you guys remember that, some of you. Last year, we were at 320 students. As of last night, we were at 424 students across all of our programs. That's hybrid, that's full-time online, it's Destinations, Little Pirates, Resource Link. So all of the different programs that we have to serve our family. So you can see we've grown tremendously over that time period.
Do you have that broken out? That's this next slide.
Broken out for how many in each?
Yeah.
It's on my different spreadsheet that I can share with you later.
That would be
yeah. Okay. So staffing ratios, and this is including Little Pirates. I'm going back and forth here. So we started with for every one teacher, we had 9.76 staff. And it steadily increased. We're currently at 1 to 15. If you were to take Little Pirates out of the equation, we're 1 to 23 for our alternative programs. And so we're still under the FTE that we started with. But we're doing an okay job right now with staffing. So trying to work through and build these programs up. When we look at application demand, excluding Little Pirates applications because that goes through a whole different process here. Last year, we had 341 applications. As of last night, we had 505 applications total for some type of alternative program in our district. That's at 510 as of a few minutes ago. But we're seeing a large increase of students and families asking for something different.
Do we turn down students when they ask?
Very rarely. So at the elementary level, we're usually touching base with the principals to see kind of what's the situation, right? We have families that have been with us all 4 years that we've been running this program, but at the high school level and junior high level, again, it's communication with the administrators. Eli Floyd and I, for high school, meet every Monday and look at the applications and determine whether or not, this is going to work for a student. They'll meet with them, or if I need to meet with them, I will. And for destinations, it's an application process and then an interview. I don't tend to turn down students at destinations. We just have to figure out if it's going to be a good fit, if they feel comfortable to come to destinations. So.
Did you already say this? I apologize. That the 505 applications are just for online and destinations?
No,
it's preschool.
It's not preschool. It's everything else.
Okay, everything else. Resource link.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to look at, what items are pushing students out of school or pulling them out of school. And so this was a lot of data to look at over 3 years. But what we are really seeing across the board at the highest rate is mental health and anxiety. A lot of students say that they can't function within a regular school site. And so these are all things that are very concerning, and we're working on solutions for our students, but that mental health and anxiety is a big part of it. But a very high need is also flexibility, and they need the schedules for their work, caregiving, and real life responsibilities. That's a lot of our older kids, right? 20 to 25% of those students are saying they learn better independently at their own pace or in a quieter setting. We do have a large number of students with medical or health needs, so that chronic illnesses, physical conditions that are impacting their attendance. Safety and bullying is also high on the list, with 15 to 20% of applications across the 3 years, and they don't feel safe, or they feel like there's a negative peer environment, and so they feel like they need to do something different. Usually when we have those situations, that's the other conversation with the principals. Okay, what's going on here?
And these push-pull factors are many of the things that other school districts are seeing as well, and talking with superintendents that have online programs, and some that are losing students to other online programs. There are some school districts within just our South Coast ESD that are that are starting their own online programs for their students, because they're losing kids to other online programs for many of the same reasons, whether it's the flexibility, the social emotional needs, just the learning environment, those kinds of things. This is a very common trend nationwide.
And then graduation always, with high school students, we find that credit recovery and graduation is a big need here, right? They got behind, or they want to accelerate, and so they decide that they want to do a different program.
So many of the kids are in multiple categories, right? Because there was more than 100% there.
Yeah. Yep.
Had to be. Okay.
Yep. And it's across 3 years.
Right.
So yeah. So Teen Parent Survey findings, we did a 3-year identification. We had 17 students identified within our system as being teen or pregnant parents. And 10 of those students, my secretaries called them, called every number we had, tried to contact all of them. We got 10 students to answer. And what they reported, and I can share the survey with everybody if you are interested in seeing all of their answers. But what they said was that they felt that 1 out of 10 said they got partial support. The rest of them said that they felt like they were supported most of the time.
17 students, based on the student population having babies like through Barrier Hospital statistics and in our community, or is it just students that are currently attending Marshfield or within the last 3 years?
So in the past 3 years, students attending Marshfield and Destinations
who identified
that they were teen parents and received support through our school district.
Okay.
Yes.
Kayla, does this also include like the father figures?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So within that, they really valued the flexible scheduling. We did a lot of flexible scheduling with our teen parents. They enjoyed the online coursework access so that they could stay home and do an online program while they were caring for their child. We also had students that would come in with their child and receive services within our school. They had that individualized planning and then that staff mentorship and check-ins. We had staff checking in with them constantly on what is it that you need. And so right now, with the 3 years of data that we have, working with our teen parents, we don't see a demand for a separate teen parent program at this point in time, because a student's voice is, we need flexibility and we need integration into our schools. And
so are we just not able to get the other information, or like teen parents in our community?
We can't, no, you can't. At the hospital, you can't.
No.
You can't go to the hospital.
Statistics. But yeah, we used to get that information all the time when I worked in early childhood, because they would say we'd had so many parents who gave birth under the age of 18 per se, 15% or whatever it
You
is.
could get that, but you wouldn't know the Bay Area Hospital, like one of the only hospitals that delivered on the whole South Coast. So
Right.
that would be everybody who delivered at Bay Area Hospital. It wouldn't be our district.
Yeah, they go by county, but it,
Okay,
Yeah.
but there's more.
Do you think that these numbers are missing a bunch of people? Is that what you're?
yeah, I think that they are,
the survey was specific to the students that had identified themselves as teen parents within our district.
Yeah.
Because what we were looking at is whether or not our teen parents over the past 3 years felt supported, or if we needed to develop another program for them, or what is it that we could do better to support them. So that was the intent of this survey. If there's another survey that we need to do, then we can definitely do that. But at this point in time, this is the information that we could get from our teen moms and dads. So.
I'm definitely not saying that this is like, oh, this doesn't tell me something. This does tell me, what our 17 in 3 years, what their feelings are. I'm just saying that I do feel like there's population out there that we could be missing, and I'd love to see that information. It doesn't mean that, we could start one up tomorrow, because the cost is prohibitive, and it could be 10 years, or we could find out that we don't need one at all. There's,
But I think that's what that information is showing.
Yeah.
Of the kids who we have identified who were actually going to different education, all but 1 of the 10 were very satisfied with what they were getting. So we are providing flexibility, we are providing mentoring, we are providing all these different kinds of things. And those kids who have chosen to take advantage of it have felt supported. Does that mean that there's not more kids out there? Absolutely. But being able to get them in, just having a program doesn't bring them in.
It doesn't, and so.
The only thing that brings them in is knowing other kids that have gone through the process and it was successful for them. That word of mouth probably does more than anything with respect to
I'm
getting
sure.
more kids.
So the other area that we were tasked to look at was the cost analysis for a child care program. It is super expensive. And that has to do a lot with the ratios. Marina, do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Sure,
Okay.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
So,
Just to put you on the spot.
just like I didn't do this, I think, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Let me remember. So for the ORS, certain number of staff are required per child based on the age group. And so what I did is I essentially broke it down by the group. They made it look so much prettier for me. And then I took what we say is a typical cost for a Little Pirates classroom because they have regularly the same ratios. And so we're saying each classroom with a teacher and 2 EAs would cost about $203,000. And then when you break that down per child that's allowed to be in there, obviously the older the child gets, the more kids you can have in a classroom. So the cost gets less. And so if we were to offer a actual child care program, we would need to charge our staff this much per student or per child in order to not be funding it per general fund dollars. So it would be, I think it's $2,535 per infant up to 24 months, and then $2,000 for a year to a year and a half, and then year 3, 2 and 3 year olds, and then $1,000 for a 3 to 5 year old, say, our Little Pirate classroom, because their ratios are obviously a lot higher.
And so if you go to the next slide, where we have key challenges and considerations, these are just things that we need to look at, is the high cost per classroom. And that means that we have to have a consistent and full enrollment for this to be viable. What she's talking about is just the staffing costs. And so if one of these says high startup and operational costs, that's not included here. Our licensee ratios really restrict the number of students. And it would be a small program size right now, unless we increase the cost, right? And then we would probably need, I'm not a financial person at all, but we would probably need some subsidies to keep this going. So
This idea would be like for staff members in the district, or what is it?
Yeah, this idea would be for staff members in the district, and this has come up in several bargaining cycles amongst our staff as a need that they would like built into the contract as district-provided childcare. Back many years ago, before I worked in the district, we had a program at CD2 in that building, in the Harding building, that supported staff daycare. I'm assuming that went away because of budget scenarios.
And the state changed the ratios.
Okay. We had one also in South Lane, and it went away. Our teen parent program and child care program went away in South Lane because of significant drop in teen parents and the cost to run the programs in the district. So there's gone away as well.
For us, Carrie, I think we can agree, it's also the space.
Space is an issue.
We are kind of maxed out at Mount Crest with our current 4 Little Pirates classrooms. I don't know if they have room for additional childcare placements in Mount Crest where our health ed is functioning.
That is true.
One thing to consider, I mean, obviously for it is really expensive, but one thing to consider is that this is actually was a huge topic at the hospital and a big fight at the hospital between the nursing union and the hospital because the Bay Area Hospital used to have daycare until very recently, like within the time I've been here in the last 5 years. And so if we're ever looking to try to cross this bridge again, partnering with the hospital could guarantee more bodies, right? Like more enrollment.
I think, absolutely, and I lived through that whole thing from beginning to end. And, as we were saying earlier, it's a little complicated because it's not just these costs that they're talking about, but it's environmental costs. Little children need little things, littler things than bigger children. And it's what we would call the cost of quality. And then that gets into the workforce that we have available. We already know that we struggle here with our other childcare delivery systems like Head Start to maintain a workforce there. We just don't have a whole lot of qualified staff. And that was one of the biggest problems, I think, that the hospital was facing over there, was really tough to keep your staff.
And then you develop a CTE program around it, but you get some funding and.
And that's a whole nother
I know.
wonderful idea that I would.
There are lots of great ideas. It's the
No, we
feasibility
know
of
that's
it.
great idea.
So I have tons of ideas. But
That's like so many things.
Yeah.
The cost of the program, when you get a job, it doesn't pay back
And then
when you had to go to school.
it
So I mean,
trickles.
even culinary right now,
Yeah.
you spend $25,000 going to culinary, and it takes you the rest of your lifetime to earn that back in most of the restaurants that you get hired in.
Yeah.
So the pay for early childhood people is so low
Mhm.
that making go through a program to get a low-paying job is pretty hard.
It is very hard, and this is so, and after COVID, everybody's pretty much fried. So I think, I mean, these are the ongoing conversations that happen in the world I live in, round and round, but they're all good and all heading towards, positive outcomes. It just takes some time.
The only place where it works is if the federal government or the state government
Yeah.
actually subsidizes the programs because they know it's important. In the world, that's the only place where it really works. You go to France, you go to some of these European countries,
Right.
it's all paid for by the state government. That's part of what you get for your taxes.
Yeah.
Arnie's ready to go back to the legislature.
It sounds like it.
We don't do very well with that.
Well,
We don't.
and so we're working on it at the state level.
so another area that we were asked to look into was a K-8 alternative education expansion. When we look at just the numbers for our online hybrid, we have about 65 students across 9 grade levels. What we're finding is there's not a sustainable cohort size, so it would be mixed grades.
But when Kayla talks about K-8 alternative expansion, that's an in-person alternative education
Yes.
expansion for K-8. So,
Okay, thank
so
you.
essentially, a destinations type
A
setting
one-room school.
for K-8.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so those resource requirements would include possibly multiple teachers. Right now, we can run online with one, but we're almost outgrowing that
We
at
are
this point.
Very close to outgrowing that.
Some dedicated administration, and then the dedicated classroom space or facility. And so, the feasibility of that right now in our financial situation is probably not sustainable. However, I'm going to get to kind of the pilot for Madison's alternative classroom after we talk about one more area that you guys asked for us to look into. And that was what Gary calls the Bridge program. And this program was, we were looking at behavior and how do we, help with some of the extreme behaviors that we see in our buildings. And so right now, the supports we already have in place, we have an emotional growth center. This is kind of our tier 4 for behavior. We have K6 SEL classrooms. We have common tier 1 interventions. At the high school level, we created a wellness room and staffed that, and students have a place now they can go and take a breath before they go to their next class. It's not a hangout spot. Although if you go into that room, you might want to hang out there. It's really very pretty. And so we're working with what we have at this point in time and what supports can we give to students and staff. Some of the ideas and things that we have coming up in 26-27, we have decided to expand our tier 3 intervention capacity for next year within our 3/6. And then increase that access to the regulation spaces, especially at the high school, letting students know, more branding, more of like, hey, this is what's available to you, maintaining our specialized placements like the EGC classroom. And then we have initiated an exploration of regional partnerships like with the ESD.
Yeah, we've had some ESD meetings and superintendents from across the ESD have voiced their feeling of need in this area. Paul Peterson and the group at the ESD and his special education department are exploring some different options. They are going up to visit the Northwest Regional ESD, who has a separate standalone alternative ed bridge program. They have offered us some kind of initial costs, which are very high, upwards of $100,000 per student to be enrolled in the program. And there's also been a discussion about where the program would be housed. And so at this point, we're not in a realm and a space that we can commit to a program like that without actual definitive, what is the location of the program? What's the entry criteria for the program? What is the graduation criteria for the program? And I know they want feedback from districts on what those things like entry and expectations and then graduation would look like. But we need to first of all identify a location and a cost before we can start talking about us being involved. And speaking with Superintendent Kreider at North Bend, he feels the same way. There's interest, we need more numbers before we can commit. So right now we're planning on doing what we control, which is our own district and our own actions for next year. And if that comes into play and works out, then we're certainly going to look at that as an option. Right now, we have to plan as if it's not an option for our own budget feasibility. Dr. Rodaski.
I was just going to ask whether that is what's being explored is a therapeutic setting, such like so.
Yes.
Okay, so in a therapeutic setting, you correct me if I'm wrong, but in a therapeutic setting, the child's health insurance, i.e., Medicaid, ends up paying for some of that.
If they qualify, yes. If they qualify, yeah. And those are also some things I think they're looking at with that Northwest Regional ESD model. It's Columbia, they have two, Columbia Academy, and it's another Northern Portland type name, another river, Willamette Academy or something. But yeah, both of those programs, that's also what they're looking at. But again, right now they just haven't come back with a really solid plan for us to make that commitment. So we're planning on our own, and then if it works out, we can certainly look at the ESD program. We have to kind of take care of our own home for a while.
Yeah, we've also reached out to Sam Coe, who works at ODE, kind of operating what's called the Long-Term Care and Treatment Grant, which essentially you partner with a mental health therapist organization to build essentially that program. But you can do it within your school. North Bend used to have one through Kairos, but they didn't continue that partnership because it was like county-wide, and there weren't very many seats. And so Sam Coe at ODE had suggested that we reach back out to them and work on something like that so that we can tap into those grant funds and potentially partner with a mental health organization to provide that therapeutic care in our district.
All right, Madison Pilot.
So
go ahead.
we used to do a survey every year of time spent with kids who had medical needs and whatever. And then we got extra money from the insurances that actually paid for most of our nurses for a while. But I don't know, is that still happening?
We are working on it.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a pain. I mean,
in a way,
it has changed. Medicaid billing has changed so much, and so we're currently in a pilot program to try to get it started again.
Okay.
I think that if I remember right, going back, that I was principal at Millicom when we did that. That went away about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And coming out of COVID, that went away. At that time, we were told that the hours of the juice wasn't worth the squeeze, kind of.
That's kind of.
And so but we're now that things have changed a little bit, we're reassessing that and seeing if that is now worth doing, because Corvallis is one place they pay for, and I know Corvallis is we're getting smaller, but it is a bigger district, but they're paying for quite a bit of staffing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when it worked pretty well, but over time, I saw that stuff happen. So.
Yeah. And you can bill for more now, and it's just a matter of training all of our staff again.
But like everything that the medical profession does to us, you have to have the right codes.
Yeah.
Codes are more important than the actual service. I get frustrated with that one. That was a big fight I had with the legislature. Did not win, but it was a big fight. And I had a lot of doctors trying to help.
So I wanted to highlight Madison's alternative classroom, and I'm going to have Carly talk to you guys about why that got started and what it's looking like. I had the pleasure of being there for just a little bit last week, and It was pretty amazing to see some students that sometimes have a tough time at school, and they were learning and they were participating and playing games together when they needed to do that because it was lunchtime. And I just had such an enjoyable time. The teacher that is in the classroom was amazing, and I was really proud to see the work that they're doing. But I'm going to let Carly talk about that a little bit more.
Okay, really quickly. I think I mentioned this briefly at like the middle of year school presentation. This kind of just authentically transpired this year as Kayla got access to the Acellus curriculum. She was like, hey, do you want to try it in the school? And I said, okay, let's try it in our SEL classroom, because one of the challenges that our staff faces is we have students of all different grade levels. And so how do we make sure that we are academically meeting their needs and helping them learn? And so one conversation I was having with another administrator earlier, maybe this month, was like, what's our goal, right? Our goal is that kids are learning, they're building their academic skills and their social emotional skills. The goal doesn't have to be that they're in a traditional classroom setting. And so how do we meet the needs of our students within our school, our current school buildings? And I had the pleasure of working inside the walls of the district office and Destinations last year and got to see the model that Kayla was using at Destinations with her students, and thought, okay, let's give this a try with our K2 students. And our SEL teacher has done a wonderful job of, kiddos are logging in, they're doing their schoolwork. She is working with them one-on-one. They're getting in-person academic interventions. They are doing their work, which is oftentimes one of the challenges or one of the triggers for a lot of students is just doing the work. So they are doing their work, and then they are also getting their character strong, their SEL curriculum. And so we're just seeing a lot of really positive outcomes. Things are going very well for our students, but one concern is, what does this look like for our second graders who've done very well in this model? And Kara and I were talking with Kayla about this last week, who are transitioning to Sunset if this isn't an option in the future. And so we wanted to kind of try it out and see how it went, and it is working really well, first and foremost for students, and they are making academic and social emotional growth. So any questions?
So is it considered a general education classroom, or is this special placement?
Yeah, no, she is a gen ed teacher. And so it is a gen ed placement.
And how do we, how are students, so for, are all ed programs, there's an application. So how are these students identified or selected?
They are either usually referred by myself, the teacher, a student that we have maybe had some meetings with families and said, this is what's going on. We've tried some interventions. We're not seeing them be successful. There's always a process that we go through. And then there's also times where a kiddo is just having a really hard time. It's like, we're not going to wait to have 3 or 4 meetings to then determine that this might be a really good plan for this kiddo. The parent is always involved. So reaching out to the family and saying, hey, we've got this opportunity for your student. Would it be something that you would be interested in trying? Here's what it looks like. Here's what, what your student's day would look like. And so far they have all been very supportive. Now, some of the students that are in this pilot program are also going to their grade level classroom for certain points throughout the day. And some of them just aren't. That's not really our objective at this time. Our objective is that they're building skills academically and socially and emotionally.
Sounds like a really great flexible program. Do you envision any, the laws around special education are very specific. And so is there any potential liability to the district or problems with this as a different type of placement or a different, for students with documented disability, if they end up placed in this classroom, are we opening ourselves up to any problem?
Not really, because it's a gen ed setting. They have access to their same age peers. And we're working on their goals within that classroom as
They have a
well.
plan.
And they're just getting all of their services, so at this point in time, we're not foreseeing anything.
Not for some,
Yeah.
it's great. That's really cool.
Is it a separate plan that from their IEP? Because not all
It would-
kids are on
It's part of,
IEPs, right?
it's within, yeah, but I mean, even the students that aren't in IEPs, they have
A separate plan that.
Yeah.
And as of right now, very few are online.
And then, I just see it, because it needs that 1 to 10 ratio plus, it's probably even lower at that sometimes, like you kind of point out there, just the cost, like building that into our budget for going on up, and we've got it at Madison and in Eastside, like.
Currently,
It's already funded.
it's already funded. And we're using the staff we already have in place and doing some movement of bodies to cover the classrooms, and then using the SEL teacher.
At Eastside
So-
and Milcoma.
We will when we go to expand, yeah.
Okay.
Have you, and I guess this would be anecdotal probably, but have you noticed less opportunities to clear classrooms because of this program being done at your school? Because to me,
There's still like 39 days of school left, so I hesitate to say.
I have to agree.
I would say overall, what we're seeing is a lot more regulated school environment for all students, so.
Okay, that's.
And I also want to say, as a superintendent, how nice it is and to have the luxury of Dr. Crook, both as a special programs director and as a principal, and then our principals that we have in our buildings, to be able to say, we want to pilot this, and I have the full faith in them to say, go for it. Bring the data back, we'll see if it works. We're doing that with the Chromebook pilot at the K2 level as well, right now, to see about the electronics versus, the pros and cons of using these Chromebooks in class. And so it's a really nice luxury as a superintendent to have folks in place to say, you see a need, go try it out, we'll look at the data and we'll see if we can make a change or add or change the way we're doing our program. So I'm pretty cool.
How easy is it for a kid to become an online student though? Because we sit and we talk about, we're gonna talk about taking Chromebooks out of the classroom because of the exposure. And now we're talking about kids as low as kindergarten being online for all their education.
I think it's about finding what benefits the individual student. Finding out where the students are at and then trying to cater the education to what they need. We talked so much, Dr. Ainsworth and Evers talked about education becoming a la carte, and it's really true. There's the options out there for families, and we find that some students thrive in using electronics, and some it becomes the disruption that leads to less learning. And so
I'm
it's really
just
about
concerned
finding-
about kids that young because they don't know. They
Sure.
don't know the impact on them. And parents, to some degree, are just abdicating their responsibility to the screen, so.
So I will say, we have very few kinder and first grade, usually. However, Laura Post, who runs our K6 program, she does a really great job of limiting the amount of time needed. If you take away all the distractions that are in a school building, students can complete their steps and the things that they need to do on the computer in 4 or less hours, right? And then those families then use that time, to do hands-on activities, arts and crafts, community outings. Laura sets up things like that so that the kids can socialize. They'll be doing swimming, I think, pretty soon. Trying to build the community as well. She also, when she identifies with the families that we have littles that are struggling, she brings them in. We have a whole K5 classroom, or K6, sorry, it's now K6, but a K6 classroom at Milner Crest, and she will bring the families in, and she supports our parents as well. If you've ever met her, she's kind of no nonsense, and so when there's a concern, she handles it straight on. And we have 34 families that intend to return to online next year. which usually we have like, oh, we're gonna try it out, but because of the supports and structure, our kids are not lacking education when they're online with the support of Laura and the families and what they're building in the systems.
Your concern is legitimate without the supports and program building that we are fortunate enough to have Dr. Crook and there's Bill, which is, I mean, the students are actually being tracked through their programs and supported as needed. And it's not as though a student can, we're going to hand a student a Chromebook, they're going to make no educational progress and use that Chromebook to veg out all day long.
Yeah, one of the major things, you know, I will tell you guys, like 4 years ago when somebody said, oh yeah, you're also going to be the principal of our online program, so figure out what we, you know, how we need to make this better. I was like, I'm not really a fan of online programs, right? But our families, you know, we have many families that have stayed with us all 4 years with all of their kids, and this is what they need. And with our new program, Acellus, like kids are learning. You can see, you know, within their grades, within the conversations, within their writing, like they're doing a really good job, and I have a really great staff that supports them. And my image is never to be a virtual school that just admits students. To admit them, our goal is to, you know, work with the families and make sure that our kids are all learning. If it's for some of our students, if they're not making progress, we do not allow them to come back.
Okay.
They, you know, if we had a whole slew of high schoolers that were like, nope, you have to go back to in-person. And so we're not afraid to make those calls either.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes me feel.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Just a comment, I am really proud of Coos Bay School District and the work that we're doing in alternative education. You don't see this as much out there, and I truly believe if we were not moving in that direction, we would lose students to other programs because so many families are looking for the flexibility among the reasons that were listed up there. And I feel like we're a little bit on the edge, like we're on the curve, like we're a little ahead of the game. And so I feel really proud that we offer those things and we do have the alternatives for the students, because no longer is that one setting going to serve people, and we would lose a lot more students, I think, if we didn't have so many alternative options. So.
And to speak to that, Diane, we've got, Acellus has a program called Cyber School that is really tailored towards a homeschool, a true homeschool program, much like what the ESD provides, and some other local organizations. And we're working on a partnership with the Cyber School portion. And then I'm going to go out and start talking to the homeschool families that we have that have registered with the ESD, some that are within some local organizations that I've already talked to once, and now I'm going to go back, but we have a little bit more of a solid program to offer, and try to convince those families that cyber school through Coos Bay Schools is a good option for their family, and what we can provide also if they're to go that route in terms of some of the CTE courses and things that we still might be able to support the family with moving forward. So it's about continuing to expand in a very fiscally responsible way that's going to help the district succeed and our students succeed.
I was just going to say, I too appreciate, like what you said, and I appreciate that you started sort of small, you know, and you're gathering some great, interesting data, and you're asking people what they think, and and that's wonderful. It's not only fiscally responsible, but I think it's responsible, humanly responsible too. It's great.
My only concern is these programs are expensive. They add to our budget. And I don't want to be accommodating a family who wants to use online education just because they like to go on vacations and don't want to be pulling their kids out of school on a regular basis. I don't want to pay for that.
Not to interrupt, Abby, but I don't know that we have that data to say that that is why people are enrolling in online school. I think you would probably find the exact opposite.
And I'm hoping so, because
Yeah.
I truly believe in this as a concept.
Yeah. So when you look back at the data from our Edgenuity scores, we're up to 92% completion rate. So that means that students receive 92% of their classes were finished and they got credit. So we are pretty on target with where Marshfield is at. I just sent Eli the data from Q3. This is where we're at on failure rates, and we're pretty much right on par with where Marshfield is at for their passing failure rates for their classrooms as well. I think that, with some of the policies we've put in place and the conversations that we have with parents, we see far less of that kind of thing. The other thing is, our program is, the online portion of our program is actually very cost efficient because of many reasons.
Yeah,
So,
sorry, I'd love
yeah.
to chime in. So we're losing, or in the past have lost a number of students to online programs, and Superintendent Roberts is really been working to keep some of that. So essentially, we as a district receive a low estimate of 10,000 per student, and with caseloads, I think it's 35
For online?
for online.
For K6, it's 35, and then 712 online is 100.
177 last time I looked.
Okay, so in terms of caseload, if we had an online teacher who was completely full, we'd be receiving and keeping almost $350,000 worth of ADM, state school fund, that would have just left our district. And all we'd have to consider is the cost of one singular teacher, and then offer like the SLS program, which is relatively inexpensive. $79 a month for those students. And so we're actually, when you take out those costs, we're seeing a benefit to the district because it's actually funding itself plus additional, which is kind of offsetting some of our low class sizes in our building. So it has been for us, not legit, but it has been financially softened at this time. It would need to be really low enrollment for it to be a negative towards our budget.
And I think that was probably the case when I first started, and we had 6 online teachers, and then we cut all of them. And so, and ran the program very differently. So, yeah.
And that's why Carrie was talking about people getting paid $2,000 a family. They're doing that because they have a lot of online kids. And online doesn't cost for a building, it doesn't cost for, it is the cheapest way to.
It's the same way, it's the same way to pharmaceuticals.
The other one I'll say that I really appreciate the program going over at Madison. I had a lot of interesting and opportunities in the legislature. And one of them, we have a Scientology boarding school over in the valley. It's one of the few in the country. And I spent a day there because it was actually in my district. And so a young senior student was said, she gets to be your person today to take you around to all the classrooms and ask any question you want about anything that goes on in school. And I will tell you that the most impressive thing was exactly what was said about what's happening over in Madison and other places. She said, the philosophy here is that if a student is acting out or has a behavior problem, then it's because we haven't given them what they need to have before we gave them a new concept to understand. And if they understood the concept, the brain is only designed to learn. And it likes learning. But if it doesn't have the stuff it needs to go to the next step, it gets frustrated and they get angry. And so anytime a student gets frustrated, it's time to halt. And they go and they sit down and they have a conversation to find out what they need to know before they put them into that situation again. And she said, we don't have discipline problems because every kid knows that when they start feeling frustrated, they need to go find an instructor and sit down and have a conversation. And I thought, that's really amazing. And she said, you see these pile of rocks on every table here? Those are hands-on tools to find out what you don't know. So the teacher will say, explain to me what this is all about and use the rocks to explain it. So she used the example of a combustion engine. And so the person took out the rocks, who said, well, this is the pistons, and this is this, and this is this. And pretty soon the teacher said, well, you left out so-and-so and so-and-so. Oh, what do those do? And he says, well, they do this and this and this. And eventually they got to the place where they knew what it was that the student didn't understand. And I think I was very impressed over time with what they were trying to do with these kids. And spent some time with another one of the students there came and was in our office doing stuff. But I had to rearrange my brain because when I went there, I was being forced into a situation where I didn't think I could go. It's really interesting if you take the time to listen. I just think that is partly why it's working at the other school. When the kids are uptight, when they know what they're supposed to do, they tend to do it. When they have no idea what they're supposed to do, they get frustrated. Anyway.
So.
Yes, I apologize.
So in conclusion, I skipped a few slides. You can go back and look at them if you want to. But the findings really are that our demand is increasing. There's a consistent need for some kind of alternative program for our students. We scaled the staffing, and at this time, really no new standalone programs are not warranted, but fiscally responsible at this point. And so our recommendation would be that we do some annual monitoring on your goals. And these are suggestions, you guys tell us what to do. But annual monitoring, evaluate how the Madison pilot goes through the end of the school year, continue to explore those partnerships with the ESD, and then expand our targeted tier 3 classrooms. And so really focusing in on optimizing our existing programs and pouring into that, and then figuring out how we can do in-school supports as well. And so that would be the recommendation at this point in time.
Questions from the board?
Any questions?
Thank you for considering Resource Link.
Yeah.
And I do like that you personally call families that are leaving the district.
I do. I want to know. I mean, I want to know as a superintendent what we need to do better. And I also want to explain to the families what programs and options we have within the district to try to, many times I talk to families and they're not quite aware of our programs. And that's our next step is Dr. Crook, myself, David, the administrators are working on different, I hate the word branding, but we're branding. We're putting out pamphlets and flyers about our programs and what we offer and things on the website, so families can explore our programs before they start talking about leaving us to go to some of these other entities. They can go and look at Resource Link and destinations and these places and get some information, and then who to contact for more information. So that's our next step of what we're doing with alternative programs.
Do a billboard like.
Yes, good.
Like Coquille did.
Yeah.
I'm not going on the billboard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
David,
Good job.
jump over to the rest of the superintendent report, which I will try to go through quickly. That was a very long report. But thanks, Dr. Crook. She and I have spent quite a bit of time, but she spent a lot more time than I did, just to be honest with you. And I appreciate her so much. And now that we've talked about alternative ed, I'm going to shift to budget reductions. And as we do this, I want to thank a bunch of people that were involved in it. Our cabinet administrators here at the district office, and the building administration, the union leadership that we've had conversations with. This slide's very familiar from the last one. As you know, we were over $2 million budget deficit for looking at next school year. Causes of that: student enrollment declining. We have spent down our reserves. The can of this problem has continued to be kind of kicked down the road, and we have reached the point where we do not have reserves to dip into for next year, and we have to address this problem right now, as much of it as we can. To get to this point, I met with the district leadership and looked at our different departments. I met with the building administrators and analyzed staffing, as Marina talked about earlier. We looked at some different kind of matrix and told building admin, okay, this is your student enrollment. Here's your FTE. What would your staffing allotment look like with this FTE? And then not people, but positions. I need 4 ELA teachers. I need 2 health teachers. I need this, I need that, and we kind of built, and that kind of helped drive the movements that we had. We went around the cabinet, myself, I went around, Marina and I did most of it. We presented a budget presentation to every building in the district so that there was transparency involved with what we were doing. We also asked staff to contribute ideas. Following that, I then superintendent solution sessions with every building to get further feedback from staff on what's going on within the buildings and any ideas that they had. And so that kind of got us to the place that we were in where we made our budget decisions and then further met with the district building administrators and the district administrators and then made the decisions that were made. In talking with different superintendents around the state of Oregon, I'm very proud of where we have came to get to this $2.1 million in reductions. Many districts around the state are in far worse condition that we are in. For example, I mean, at one time Eugene was looking at 30 million, they're now more than that. And their 30 million would be our district having $6 and $7 million in cuts, and we're at 2. So Marina and previous superintendents have done a good job of even using reserves and kind of slowly making attrition, have done a good job of putting us in a position where we can do what we needed to do. You were glowing a second ago. David, you just want to click, if you don't mind, please. All right, so these are the budget reduction numbers that we're looking at here for next year. We'll start with the district office level. We had a 1.0 safety and security position. That person had left us earlier this year. We're going to absorb that position. The Dean of Students at Marshfield High School, we met with with Principal Ashton, looked at the administrators. We had a position that was added, a secondary curriculum position was added at the high school. We met with Principal Ashton and said, long-term, either that position or the dean position has to be addressed in terms of how we can get creative and keep it, but how we can fund it. And we came up with looking at a way that the dean position could be adjusted. And so next year, the Dean of Students at Marshfield High School is going to be reduced by 0.25 FTE, and they're going to have an adjusted contract. And so they're going to be a 0.75 administrator on reduced day contract. That's going to save us upwards of about $60,000. There was a 1.0 FTE HR assistant that we had not filled that left. We are going to reduce that down to a 0.25 HR assistant that we're going to fill. So a part-time help. That also is a 0.25 because we had another HR person that's leaving us. And so that person was also part-time. There's some numbers involved there, but essentially it's we're eliminating down to a 0.25 assistant. The administrators, both at the district office and the building levels, have all agreed to take 2 furlough days, including myself. That's going to save the district over $35,000 next year. The departments at the district are going to reduce spending by $280,000 next year. One of the major areas that we are going to save on is Chromebooks. And that conversation about Chromebooks came directly from going to the buildings and talking to the elementary folks and the high school folks about where they thought we could save money, talking to the tech department about where they thought we could save money. And then when I went and did the superintendent solution sessions, different staff met with me and said they thought we could save money on Chromebooks, whether we had just go back to having cards or partial cards, things of that nature. So that's a prime example about how the transparency of the process, how working with the building administrators and the staff, both certified and classified in the buildings, paid off for us in terms of looking at a budget reduction. So we are reducing in all of our departments at the district office by $280,000. Certified, so that total district office administrator savings is over $500,000. Okay. Certified staff, we had a 1.0 TOSA that requested to go back to the classroom. So we absorbed the 1.0 TOSA. 1.0 FTE, Marshfield Junior High PE, was absorbed. We had a 1.0 Marshfield Junior High elective teacher that retired, and that was absorbed. We had a 1.0 Marshfield High School ELA teacher that is being transferred to a different position in the district. That was a voluntary transfer. She put in for a transfer and happened to pay off for us in terms of the spot. 1.0 MHS PE Health is a transfer. The PE Health position that's being transferred is going to go to one of the elementary buildings that has a PE opening. So the 1.0 MHS math teacher is going to be on a leave of absence. You approved that at the last board meeting. 3.0 Millicoma Classroom FTE, these are all retirees. And we looked at Millicoma, and as you can see, if you looked at the enrollment data, we had some grade levels of 5, 4. Next year, those grade levels of 5 and 4 we're going to shift. We're going to shift Millicoma to 4 teachers at each grade level. And 4th grade and 6th grade are going to be above what is in the contract for the recommended class cap. And we are going to be working, we already talked to union leadership, Glenn and Tracy. We're going to be very proactive about how we support those grade levels with being above the recommended cap for the 2 years while we kind of ride out those 2 grade levels. And then you can see the enrollment trends from K3 right now dictate 4 teachers in every grade level moving forward. And so we feel, and I want to commend the Millicoma staff that when they were, when this was explained to them, did a really good job from my understanding. I was not there, but really did a good job from my understanding of understanding the reasons why and just understanding the big picture of this is going to provide stability to the building too, of not having to shift teachers around every year here for the next 3-ish years. And then we have a 1.0 nurse that's going to be transferred as well, and it's going to move out of the general fund. Of all of the people that are up here on the board, nobody is losing their position within the district. All of them have either been absorbed or transferred to other positions. So we have no certified FTE that are losing their position due to the budget. Right? In looking at the classified staffing, we have $800,000 Bree talked about today, and I appreciate it. I did not ask her to say anything, but I appreciate her saying, I think she left, but oh no, you're here, Bree. I appreciate you saying that we balanced our reductions in force and as best we could.
Do I get an incentive?
But we have a 0.43 Millicoma EA that was absorbed that was planning on not returning already. We have 2.75 FT at Millicoma that were the 6th grade bubble EAs. That bubble group is leaving, and so we're going to absorb those. 2.0 FTE in custodial reduction and a 2.0 FTE in technology assistance. 0.8 FTE ARC EA. We are working with Melinda right now, Space Thunder Day, working with Melinda on backfilling that with a grant. She's already applied for some grants and things like that, so it's going to come out of the general fund, and we're looking at some grant funds to get that back in there. So our hope is, and we're very confident, we're going to have a position at the ARC that's funded through a grant. We have 1.0 FTE at Marshfield High School. They have a secretary that's going to retire in December 31st. So we're just going to absorb the back half of that at the end of the year. We'll work on job sharing and things like that to prep for that absorption around the holidays. But the person in that position let us know that she's going to retire, and so we'll absorb that at the winter break. And then we have a 0.75 preschool EA that we're going to be absorbing. Of the classified employees that you see up here, right now we have 3 folks that are slated to not return with us next year from these position absorptions. There will be opportunities for them to apply for some positions or to recall into some position. But in terms of their position, I don't want to get too much detail here, but in terms of their specialized position, they won't have a job in that position. So of all of these 19-ish FTE that you see here on the board, we have 3 people that are going to be not returning to us due to budget reductions. And while I would happily love to have everybody return, I did take some mild solace in when talking to other superintendents around the state, and to say we are absorbing 19 positions and being able to still keep 16 people employed of the 19 absorptions. A lot of people said that's a really good job by, a lot of superintendents said it's a really good job by your HR, business manager, all the people involved to make that happen, because it's a tough sell right now around the state of Oregon. So I feel pretty fortunate. Of the feedback I've received from staff throughout the district, about 98% of the people have been positive and said that they're appreciative that we did the best we could, given the situation, understanding that we have to right size what we're doing. If we were to, some people in the superintendent solution said, well, what if we took pay freezes, or what if we did, one more year and took furlough days, cut days. I'm fearful for what 2027 is going to bring us. And I feel like if we shift this issue one more year down the road, we could be looking at a lesser version of a Eugene, Springfield situation where we're looking at 5-7 million. I don't know what's coming to us in terms of the next biennium. Yeah, with the state school fund.
And the PERS.
And PERS, the PERS rate is set to quote unquote, explode. But that's, so I feel like right now is the time to do this. These reductions, this is going to right size this going into next year. North Bend did this last year when they cut 13 FTE just at the high school. And then this year they still faced a little bit of a budget squeeze, but they were able to kind of do it through some retirees and kind of move some things around. And I think that's where I'm hopeful we're going to be at next year, because we're right sizing right now.
So,
yeah.
Do you know what the federal outlook for our title funds?
We do. Go ahead, Marina. We found out just the other day.
Yeah, we found out Friday, and we, in Title I, our biggest, we were seeing about a $20,000 decrease, which is great. We were expecting significantly less because our ADM keeps decreasing, but no, we're only seeing about a $20,000 decrease, which we can and anticipated moving to SIA, so that we can maintain that literacy Title I staffing and move it into free.
That's kind of exciting, actually.
Yes. I know. When we saw that, I think we high-fived.
Yeah.
Because we were expecting it to significantly worse.
It was cross our fingers. It was a little bit like the lottery as you clicked on the email to see what we were getting. So, in terms of, as budgets improve, change, they go in ebbs and flows. In terms of staffing priorities when things do improve, Little Pirates, K-6 reading and math, our CTE programs, alternative ed, and our 7-12 core subjects. Those are the areas that we, and that, I know that's a lot of areas, but those are what we need to look at when it comes time to, again, budgets, ebbs and flows. We have good times, we have not so good times. When we get back to the good times, these are the things we need to look at in terms of staffing priorities. Any questions on that budget process before those budget reductions, before comments from the board, before I move on to our next slide? Okay. Just to update on student education, we have signed our contract with student education for strategic planning. My intake meeting as a superintendent, if you want to call it that, is on April 20th. And then I'm going to work to start building our strategic planning team. If you would like to be a part of that as a board member, please let me know. Send me an email. We got to limit it to 3 board members so we don't have a quorum, and then each strategic planning meeting becomes a public meeting as well, board meeting essentially. But please email me if you're interested in that. I'm going to be reaching out to folks across the district for interest in that strategic planning as well. I'm really excited for this work. Village daycare. We were contacted in early February. The Village daycare, which is located in Pony Village, is being evicted for a box retail store that's coming in that wants their space as well. And so we were contacted with kind of a plea for help. Is there any community organizations can help it find a temporary home for Village daycare when they're evicted? The cabinet, Marina, Michelle, Dr. Crook, we had a whole conglomerate of people that met with some Village daycare folks, some folks from SOEB, some folks from the South Coast Learning Hub, from SWAC, and we're like, is there anything you guys can do as Coos Bay Schools to help us? And so we had we scheduled a series of meetings. And we have come up with, and Addie joined us for the last meeting, we've come up with, we're gonna lease 5 classrooms over here in the north wing to them temporarily. We've been open and honest with them that this is a maximum of 2 years. They don't think they're gonna even need that long, but we've told them 2 years. We're not a home here. We don't have plans to put students back in those spaces, but we also understand the need. They are coming in and paying for the retrofitting of things that they need. All the items that are going to be needed to get up and running is being taken care of by the daycare. It is no cost to the district. We are going to be leasing the space to them, and we are to cover our costs plus a little bit. We're not looking to price gouge a community organizations like the Village Daycare. We're just trying to help them get through this year that they think, year and a half, to find a permanent home. And so they are going to be moving in here within the next month. But I wanted to be open with the board. I know we've communicated a little bit about it. I appreciated Addie joining the last meeting to get any questions she had as board chair, and just also to reinforce that 2 years. And so, do you guys have any questions on this short-term help and partnership? They've been very appreciative of this opportunity because they were in a real jam, and it's going to help kind of weather an area for them. And it's 50 to 75 families, depending on in the daytime after school care.
So we're not going to lose any gym space?
Nope. No, we will not. They know that they have the gym. They can use the gym until about 5 o'clock, and then that's it. Whatever gym time is scheduled right now with Lobet maintenance, we're going to give a 30-minute buffer, and then they won't be in the gym. Same with fields. Same with things like that. Yeah, we're going to make sure they've been very like, whatever you guys need from us, we will do it. And we said, well, these are kind of the parameters. So, yeah.
Were you able to, or maybe not reach this place yet where you drilled down into, here's how the cars are gonna move around in the parking lot and?
Yeah, we've talked about, they need minimal spaces even for pickup and drop off, but we do have the benefit of the bus flow for when they do have buses come, because we will have buses that will be servicing both our area and then some North Bend buses coming over. Not letting the cat out of the bag here, but North Bend is signed on with First Student for busing, so we now have the same busing on both sides of town. Yeah. So that's going to help with transportation, because there's no, in a sense, busing boundaries are very flexible. And so we've talked about that. I, told them I would communicate next door with the dentist's office, and they said, no, you don't even need to do that. Like, we have so many minimal spaces needed, but we've talked about traffic flow and things like that, both outside the building and in the building traffic flow, as well, to make sure that their parents are aware that they check in the north wing. We already had plans to put doors up in the cross area right over here. That was already, the permits had already been put in and everything, so those doors will go in as planned. That'll also help partition off the building a little bit. But we've had those communications and conversations for sure.
Great.
Yeah. Any other questions on Village Daycare?
Just assume part of this was like legal review.
Yes, we're drawing the lease up right now. They're drawing the lease up with their representative, and then it's going to go to our representative to be looked over and make sure that we're covered on our end.
As their landlord, are there any things in particular that we would be liable for?
They have their own insurance, and things will be covered under their own insurance. Will be absolved of any of those liabilities. And they're also going to be doing, because of their rules that they have as a state daycare entity, they're going to be taking care of many of those things on their end, like custodial and things of that nature with food service, food prep. They're working on it, and they already have the people that they've contacted to do that as well on their end. So we feel fairly well covered.
Okay.
And we will pass this on to our legal to have them look over.
Yeah, well, and then part of our relationship with them is that they're going to furnish us with up-to-date proof of insurance.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
They'll provide it to my office.
To your office. Okay.
Yes, for sure.
So playground equipment around here that's not in very good shape, are we getting rid of it, or?
We're actually in the process of removing it, but that doesn't have anything to do with the Village Daycare. That is our own. WOMA's had it inspected, and our insurance recommended that we remove it in terms of our liability. They have had conversations about replacing it with some things that are age appropriate from their end. And we'll be having some more conversations about that. We did look at trying to, there are some things we're gonna be able to salvage, like the swings, but we're gonna have to change the loop hooks at the top that are to a better, more appropriate loop hook, more safe. But there are some things that we're gonna be, but for the most part, much of the play structure is coming out, but that was gonna happen regardless of the daycare. That was just our own liability
Community liability.
and inspections, yeah.
And I haven't looked, is the fence along the creek good, so kids can't
Yeah.
fall into the road?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's looking good. And they've been doing maintenance and keeping it clean, cut stick
Okay,
pretty best. Any trees that fall, West Coast Fencing comes and gets it done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're up there on the fields all the time,
Yep.
so you know.
That's,
All right, yeah, no, absolutely. And then upcoming events, I just want to let folks know, the board know, I have one more round of both coffee with the superintendent. I have one in April, one in May, one in June. Town halls are set for one in May and one in June. And then I have another round of superintendent solution sessions in the buildings in late May and in early June, kind of that last week. So I got one more opportunity with community members and our staff to get some feedback on items to take into summer and into next fall. So just wanted to let you know those opportunities I'm gonna have with the community and with our staff. And then some K-6 highlights. Big one that we had going on is we had a science assembly that went on. And so we had, what was he called? Science Circus, Carly? Science Circus. Science Circus was in our K-6 buildings, did a little Madison and Sunset, and then a day later went over to Millicoma East Side. And so I put some pictures on in there. And then had some of the students there, like that bottom middle picture. Madison students created some science projects based around that. The top middle picture, that's Mustang Madness over at Millicoma, positive behavior. Guess you kind of call it a carnival, but it's kind of during the day for students that have demonstrated positive behaviors. They kind of have, the name implies, it's Mustang Madness. It's, there's carnival games, there's dodgeball going on downstairs and basketball and playgrounds and things going on there. And then we have right here, our future chef winner from Sunset. And I should have had this in front of me to read her name off because I had it on my mind. And now I'm over here and I can't remember it. But that is our future chef winner. She's a 5th grader over at Sunset. And she will go on to the next step of the future chef competition. And so that's her receiving her medal and her certificate. So any questions? I know it's a long superintendent report due to the LTIP.
So then with the power, are they gonna pay the difference from what we've historically had?
Yeah, Loma went in and looked historically at what each room cost us in terms of heat, power, internet, and then we looked at kind of sewer, water, and then we billed them and said it's gonna cost you this much per classroom.
Nice.
And garbage included. And we kind of said, here's what it costs us. We'll put a little buffer in to make sure that we're covered, but we're not also, we're not looking to price gouge a local daycare
And
organization.
then if the fall heck breaks loose and the boiler goes out, then they won't be able to sue us for the difference or the heat.
Yeah,
something
that'll be in the
different.
lease,
Yeah.
but if that
'Cause you
happens,
never
we're gonna
know,
have to
yeah.
fix it too for us, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if it sets them back a week or something.
Yes, yeah, so. Any questions?
I have on my schedule for that tomorrow, there's something for Marshall Junior High ROTC, is it the?
Yeah, so there was tomorrow, we were supposed to have an ROTC graduation at Marshall High School, but that has been put off because of the Homeland Security things that are going on and the travel ban that was going on for a while with the military. So that's been postponed indefinitely. We're waiting to hear back from our folks at the Coast Guard on a makeup date, but we have not heard back from them. So it was postponed. Yeah.
Your winner is Izzy Camp. I coached her
Thank you.
softball.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Elgowski. I appreciate it. All right, thank you guys for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Okay. We're up to policies, which we will do quickly since we're time strapped.
Good.
Oh, I'm
Facilities.
sorry, I missed one, facilities update.
Okay, thank you. Following the Facilities Committee meeting on March 13th, we have completed our follow-up regarding the proposed nomination for the National Register of Historic Places.
After coordinating with the committee member who recommended the designation, the committee has determined that the district would be required to provide the bulk of the administrative and financial support to move forward. Consequently, the committee submits the following recommendation. Current capacity, the district personnel do not have the time available necessary for this intensive process. Project timelines. Concerns were raised that adding another layer of review could drastically slow down future project timelines. And then a big one, financial constraints. Given current budget constraints and the limited tangible return on investment, it is not prudent to commit district resources at this time. So the recommendation would be the process should be tabled until a time when the district is not facing a financial shortfall.
We need a motion for that, or is this just
No,
something you're?
I think it's just
Perfect.
straightforward.
Fantastic. Love it.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, now we're on to policies.
So I wanted to go through these line by line.
Word by word.
I was hoping that was the case.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any perspective?
That's important.
Any perspective policies they would like the committee to review? Okay,
From this list,
what's that?
like you're saying from this
No,
list.
is there any policy
In general.
in general?
So yeah, that's always our first item, just to open up. If there's something that was on your guys' mind you wanted us to look at. So then we have our first reading for adoption. There are, this is the end of our policy analysis. These are the final ones going through now. So we do have a policy committee meeting on Thursday. I think I have one for it currently. So I'll get the agenda out to you guys tomorrow. And I was kind of postponing until I saw if any more got added. So we'll have that out. The one that we had, it's an AR number 2, GB AR. That policy was reviewed in November of 2024 and went to first reading. And either I was asked to table it or I didn't get it on the next, for whatever reason, it didn't make it on the December agenda to be adopted. So we had sent that policy at the committee's request to Dr. Rogalski because it related to medical things. And we thought, hey, what a great person to take a look at this. And he thought it would be warranted to add back to first reading for adoption for further discussion if needed. So that's why it appears here. One of the things that I didn't include when I had initially sent him that AR is the district's communicable disease management plan that covers a lot of the things that I think were what you found the AR lacking. And then also the associated policy with that. So those are all linked on the agenda here for community members that wanted to look at how the interplay works between those. Were there any other concerns that you wanted to discuss with the group, Dr. Rogalski?
No, I mean, I think it was helpful when you gave that those background documents. I think there's one. The two things that I hopefully relatively minor was a definition of the local health officer, because it matters who that is, right? Like if who are we going to listen? Who are we going to listen to? And defining that for our community would be a good idea.
Okay.
Because I'm not a local health officer, medical degree, but I'm not a local health officer. So what does that mean in our county? And then there's there's one that starts. It's 1.0. And it's nurse or school nurse stating that the student or employee respectively does not have or is not a carrier of any restrictable disease and exclusion. I'm not sure that first sentence is actually a sentence.
And which document is this on?
It's GBEVAR. It's the first sentence of the third page.
Okay.
It looks like it just might have been. I don't know, the meaning of that statement is not very clear. There's been a lot of edits in that particular list of items, and I just wonder whether that got over edited.
Okay. I'll go back and look at the OSBA version, and then I'll send that out to this group to review. And if we like that, then we can move it back to the policy committee, or back to, we can look at it Thursday and wordsmith and then bring it back to you guys.
I'm sure the meaning is like right there. I just like, I
This is
can't make
number
heads or tails.
4, reading number 4. It's the end of number, under restrictable diseases.
Under restrictable, no, number
Oh,
one.
Number one.
Nurse or school nurse stating that, but like, why are they stating? Are they stating that they don't have it? Are they stating that they do have it?
Oh.
Anyway, we can come back to it. It's just, it's a wording thing that.
Okay.
But no, I thought with the addition of the policy, is like, it was just my, made more sense.
Okay. Then I will add that to Thursday, and we'll go through and doctor that. No pun intended.
And then I had a question about the DGCAR, the exemptions from competitive bidding and special procurements.
Mm-hmm.
The last paragraph, which says when the LCRB approves a special procurement, approves a class special procurement, the district may award contracts to acquire goods and services within the class of goods and service in accordance with the terms of the approval without making a subsequent request. So, and then
That one's
further-
being deleted. That whole thing is being deleted. This one?
No,
Oh,
this
I'm
one.
sorry. Okay, I was on the wrong AR.
Yeah,
Okay.
the top, the first one. I was wondering how that, I was wondering if you could give me an example, or what an example of that would be, because I can understand the purpose of this, which is they come to the school board, we say that this is a special procurement, the board is going to give a one-time approval for this. That last paragraph says we can make an exception for that in special circumstances, but it's not entirely clear to me what that. Is it like we're gonna sign up for a recurring payment, and so you don't have to come ask us every time you're making a recurring payment, or
So
I just didn't understand that
Can I
last
chime in?
paragraph.
Yes,
Okay, so the way after sitting through enough Department of Administrative Service, like conferences about this, the way I'm assuming they mean it is say, at the beginning of the year, when we were talking about those cell phone pouches, say the board came to an agreement that we can do a special procurement without going out for bidding, because it's a specialized product. As you said, okay, Marina, please go buy 20,000 of those. Then 2 days later, before I got to order it, that company comes out with a better, newer version. I would take it that now I would have the ability, you guys can make an exception, that now I could order the newer, more updated version without having to go through all the same steps, or without another bidding step.
Okay.
That's how I took it.
An example makes it make sense. Thank you.
Okay.
And then the last one that I wanted to ask about was the GBJ weapons in school for staff. I just wanted to point out there are 6 conjunctions in the first sentence. Blah, it doesn't, I don't know if there's a way to make that not have quite so many or and.
Independent clauses.
And then the last thing, a more substantive thing that I thought we should consider is that this policy says that our employees can carry a noxious gas for self-defense purposes, And so long as they use it in that way that they can, that's fine. But we don't talk about pocket knives, right? And so like every airport you go through in Europe has a little thing, like if it's less than 3 inches long, or in Coos Bay, a lot of people carry pocket knives. It might be useful, instead of saying knives, we talk about that a little bit. And I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. Like if we want to say all knives are not okay for staff, that's fine. If we want to say pocket knives are okay for staff, so long as they are used in appropriate ways, that also seems okay to me. But I think maybe if we're going to go to the level of detail saying that people can carry a noxious gas, maybe we should go to the level of detail of defining what counts as what makes a knife a weapon.
Yeah, we can talk about that on Thursday, and I can look at some, I can go back and look at some verbiage that could help maybe add a little bit to that, so that distinguishes between pocket knife, for example, something that would be used by a shop teacher or Mr. Crook in the manufacturing lab, and thank you. But yeah, no, something with a little bit more substantive, knives exceeding this length, or
Yeah, and maybe that's nitpicky, but it's in our community, there's a lot of teachers who probably
I've never been without a pocket knife.
Well,
my Cub Scout, my Scout, everything taught me.
and we
have a pocket knife.
we have language.
I have one in my pocket right now.
Students carry knives, pocket knives, exceeding 3 inches.
Yeah. I think that's.
3.5, thank you. So why not add some of that same language in for staff? So I think that's reasonable. So we'll bring that to Thursday as well.
Okay, great.
And then on that first sentence, I completely agree. Generally what I'll do with OSBA updates is copy over directly but they're not always the prettiest sentence. I'm just always a little leery to change anything because I don't know exactly why something is particularly written that way. But what I'll do is we'll change it to read better while keeping the intent of it. And then it goes back to OSBA and they'll say, oh, wait, we had that there for a reason. Here's why. So we'll review that on Thursday as well.
Cool,
Great
thanks.
place.
Okay. Any other questions on these? Awesome.
No.
Back to you, Addie.
Okay, we're on to our leave of absence request.
I would like to make a motion to approve the leave of absence request.
I'll second that.
I'm thankful that they have chosen to do that. It does help with all this other process.
Yeah.
That is actually not factored in at all.
Oh, they
That
are,
was
yeah.
done after. It
Oh,
has-
wow.
What's the name of the person?
It was not in.
And I would
the
like to say that I
Oh, yeah.
really
I
appreciate
have it somewhere.
this individual, this teacher, this kindergarten teacher. She's an amazing teacher. I hope she's able to come back to the district. Man, she's so good, and I've worked with her firsthand with my grandson, and she made huge strides with him, and she's phenomenal, and I hope she knows she's loved and appreciated by a lot of parents and students. So I wish her the best of luck.
100%, I would agree with that.
Okay, so the motion is that we approve the leave of absence request for Mackenzie Brock.
Yep.
For the 7 school year. Okay,
Do we get
and I have a motion,
she motion?
and I have a second.
Yep.
Diane,
Aye.
Maybe,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Derek,
Nay.
Kim,
Aye.
Darnie, and chair votes aye. Okay, board member highlights. Diane.
Can I just say that, I think that, and I think approving leaves of absence is a good thing. I think we as a board do that too automatically. Not, like, we need to think about promising jobs to people back when we are cutting jobs. So, I think this is an excellent individual. We want them back, but I think for future board deliberations, before we move in second, we should have an opportunity for discussion. And that's why I voted nay, not because I don't think she should deserve a leave of absence, but because we were rushing through it at the end of the meeting. but it's not fiscally responsible to promise jobs when we have to cut, when we don't know what's coming. And we might, 2027 might be really hard.
Right, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate how much time and effort it takes to train and money to train a good quality staff member, a teacher in a classroom, a classified person, and how much money you're going to save in the long run when we look at $20,000 to $40,000 going into training someone and getting them up to speed. I mean, you just got to look at the overall picture. Definitely, I read this leave of absence before I came to this meeting, and I took that into consideration. I took the years of service into consideration, her experience. So it wasn't just something I was motioned out of the blue. Didn't think about.
And I have another question. Have they been reviewed before they come to us?
Yeah,
So that
I mean, Human Resources has a conversation with staff members when they put in for these, to the reasons why, and then I go over them with Michelle. And the situation with this staff member, I support the leave of absence. I understand the reasonings why. Kim's right; she is a fantastic teacher for us, but I also understand Dr. Rogowski's point about the times that we're in situations, and leave of absences are different situational. Different situations proceed different ways, and this is one that.
I told this one that hasn't been something
Yeah.
we've recommended.
Yeah.
And we followed.
And on this, there's been times where we'll be like, we'll ask the superintendent a certain question
Yeah.
that we're not allowed to ask. It's a personnel type issue, a legal issue. And so that's why.
Well, and that's okay, and I do think that it's
Yeah.
Your
important.
point
that
is-
we should
Add the discussion.
And for the future, something to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, board highlights. Diane,
Sorry to disappoint.
baby,
Wonderful dinner with Principal Ainsworth and Dr. Crook.
I've attended all the young men's, boys varsity volleyball games, even on the road.
awesome.
And I almost know some of the rules.
Wow.
Yeah.
Derek?
Had a very good meeting on Wednesday at Millicoma, the site council. Site council was really great, led by Kevin, and great to see that group of teachers come together.
Just went to the same dinner, the alumni dinner that some of you fellow board members went to, loved it, it was fantastic.
So this is the esteemed
Yeah,
alumni.
that was great. It was so good,
Really
the food was
wonderful.
wonderful, the students did a great job on the chicken and the beef, it was,
But the people we honored were just amazing.
oh my goodness, I cried through the whole thing,
Yeah.
it was so
If you go back
heartfelt.
and look at all of them, we're trying to get up a deal so that on the tables in the future, there will be a deal about all the different people, so you can actually remember
Yeah.
the 25 or so that we've honored. It is impressive opportunity.
Very
Is
impressive.
the discussion we had today at the secondary meeting, secondary administrators meeting is, are we outgrowing the space
We
of
are.
doing it in Heritage
Yeah, we
Hall?
are.
Because
We are,
so
definitely.
it's becoming such an event, but
I know.
Heritage
Place.
Hall is where you should be celebrating your
Yeah.
heritage. So-
They love seeing it.
So we're talking about maybe doing some creative work with maybe dining in a location and going to Heritage Hall for the speeches, like, because we can maximize
Yeah.
chairs and seating. Anyways, all positive,
Yeah.
positive problems,
There
but
was a fire, we.
it's a fantastic event. It needs to be done in Heritage Hall in some way somehow, but
Yeah.
Absolutely.
how can we expand? Because it's growing every
I
year.
like your idea. I
The other
think that's
side of
one
the
word.
gym, but.
Yeah.
We're-
Millicom Site Council, not Millicom, sorry. East Side Sound Council, great, I enjoy it. They do a good job, the staff is impressive. And at that time, we celebrated one of the students who's going to become an early childhood person next year. Because she's on the site council and she's really excited about it, and that's where her training was. So she's happy that she's getting the opportunity, so that was my pleasure.
And let's see, I did the village daycare discussions. I went to the Future Chefs program. That was really fun. Though in the future, if any of you feel the urge to go, and I highly recommend it, when it says it starts at 5, you don't need to get there till at least 6, because they're just cooking and all you do is sit around in the other room for an hour.
You can go watch them cook. I have it.
Oh, yeah, I walked back and everything, but I mean, there were a lot of kids back there and a lot of parents, and so,
I tried to go to that, I was on call that day.
yeah, it was
It
fun.
looked like a really
It
cool
is
event.
You know, it was things like stuffed French toast, one kid made with bacon. The smells were wonderful. And then I went to the esteemed alumni dinner, which was wonderful. Is there anything else? Hearing none? We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I will say, Butch and Louie were the